Hey everyone, all right. So this is Ziki one more time, and I hope you're all having a wonderful time wherever you are. And of course, it's a holiday, even though it's really short, but it's really important. Okay, now tonight we are back again with yet another open discussion. I love to use the word open discussion so that everybody can air their views, without feeling like they are lower than this one. So on this platform, we don't use ranks. We don't use this person is a what, this one is a what. We are all equal. We all have, problems. We all know what is happening. So this is what we do. And also, before we go on, I'm going to make this disclaimer that all the views that are expressed in our discussions, they belong to the individual who has expressed them. They are not my views, okay? So I just had to make that thing very clear. So tonight we are having Political Theater International from the USA, okay, brother from America, and then I also have Sebastian. The mic is closed, and I've got Raz. Okay, so first of all, from our previous discussions, we spoke and identified different problems. Some people were thinking that Ziki was not listening. Let me tell you something. I was listening. We identified a lot of problems, okay? We identified a lot of problems, and our brothers and sisters from South Africa, they listed the things they think, no, these issues need to be addressed, okay? So tonight we want to change a little bit. We don't want to dwell on pointing fingers and pointing at things that we already know. Tonight we're going to be talking about the possible solutions to some of the problems that were identified, okay? Now, before we go into before I give you the outline of the problems that were identified, I just want to welcome Political Theater International. Them as America, they also face, issues of immigrants, okay, illegal immigrants. I think all of us, we are familiar with, the former president talking of building a wall. Okay, it was all because of these issues, right? So now we want to hear from his understanding what he understands with the issue of immigrants. Okay, I've opened your mic, Political Theater. Thank you so much for joining us. Go ahead, Political Theater.
Yes, can you hear me? Thank you a lot for inviting me. Um, I want to start out by saying that what is going on that we can see in South Africa, Zimbabwe, different states is nothing new. In fact, it's something that is indigenous to that region. Here in America, we've had border issues dating back to the middle 1800s, and they have a direct effect on us now. Little short, brief history. The United States, as we knew it, uh, fought against Mexico in a war, and then the spoils were the borders that we have right now. Ever since then, we've had a border issue with Mexico. Illegals and legal immigrants coming. The From what we see, the United States is in a peculiar situation. We have one of the world's, if not the world's, longest unguarded border. That's the border between Canada and the United States. There's no problems. It never has been. However, to our southern neighbors, Mexico, we've had problems, and a lot of it is based in race and ethnicity, even religion. That these problems come up. So if we can look at this from a economic and political position, I'm gonna use the term push pull. Push pull factors mean what is pushing something or someone and what is pulling someone. So we can look at the push factor. Poverty is one. Another is seeking a better way of life is two. Different standards. These are all the push factors that push people out of one region to another. So what are the pull factors? The pull factors are a better economy, a better standard of living, things of this nature. We see this occurring all over the world. With the United States, we have the Cuban crisis, which is Cuba also sends a lot of illegal immigrants, But once they reach the United States soil, they become um, they become citizens. So one of the things that I like to focus on, going back to the Mexican, and even in Cuba, the average Joe or the average citizen does not, they have a very shallow understanding about immigration, particularly between Mexico and, let's say, Cuba. But look at it in this way, what are some of the positives? One of the positives is that when people come to work, whether legal or illegal, they are most likely sending money back to their um, original countries. So now we have transfers of money when someone, an illegal, goes and they start working, um, fixing roofs or some whatever work they pick up. They're going to send a majority of their money back to their countries, and this is a win-win. This is a win-win. When I was stationed, I was in the military and I was stationed in California. You would see illegals, and I've been out there several times since, but you would see illegals walking across the 8-lane highway to come into America, and no one's stopping them. Why? Because deep down in our souls, we know that we need that immigrant labor to do the things that the average American will not do anymore. Most of these jobs are labor intensive, whether it be roofing, whether it be digging ditches. These are things that an economy needs. And this is called a shadow economy because it's in the mainstream. But if you take a trip to LA or any border city, LA or San Diego, and you see people, mostly men, they will wait in particular areas in parking lots of stores, and they will be picked up by white people in trucks because they need that labor to fix the roof, to fix the street. And this is a phenomenon that the average American does not see, but we only get caught up in the color and ethnicity of the people. Oh, those people don't need to be here. Oh, they're taking our jobs. The immigrants are not taking the jobs. They're taking jobs that we don't want to do. Let's be real with ourselves in America. The jobs that we don't want to do, they're doing. Whether it be janitorial, whether it be labor intensive work, we don't want to do it anymore. But yet and still the double standard is we have someone, whether they be in office, saying we need to build a wall. We need to build a wall. We need to protect ourselves from them people, those people. And that's just asinine because, as I said earlier, we need that particular labor. We need that sector of labor to be done. It's just simple as that.
Okay, but from what you are mentioning, now here's the issue. You are saying in America you need that labor for the people to come and do those particular jobs that locals are not doing. But now it's a different scenario in South Africa. In South
Correct.
Africa, they're saying no. If every job, okay, every job we as locals we can do. Okay, so this is a difference between what you're talking about and what is happening in South Africa. In South Africa, they're saying every job we can do it. Okay.
Correct. Correct. So, but listen to the language, the irony of it all. The same language that is being used now against those people, those folks, the outsiders, it's the same language that apartheid whites use. The same language that oh, those people, them people, they're it's a term that we use a lot. It's called relative deprivation. When you seem to have this, you have this sort of haughtiness to you that you see. Well, we're better than those people. We're not those people, right? It's called entitlement. We have an entitlement culture. We deserve to have this because it's ours. But that same language is used by whites in apartheid. We don't want the blacks to share in our material wealth. We don't want that. That's the same language that's being said right now about those people, those Zimbabweans, those whoever. You know, on one of the solutions, we know that SADC exists, but it needs to function As you keep hearing now, the momentum to talk about doing away with borders, political borders in Africa. We hear the language picking up now. That's one of the solutions. That not necessarily where this is Zimbabwe, this is Botswana, but one federated Africa. And if it has to take place on a regional scale, then it should take place. That's one of the solutions that could be, taken care of. Sorry.
Okay, now looking at the, like what you're explaining, but still we're coming to the issue of illegal immigrants, right? What are some of the negative impacts of illegal immigrants in the USA?
Well, you also hear the battle cry from those on the right side of the spectrum that says they bring in crime. These people are criminals, these people are drug dealers, and there's been an attempt to tie international criminals, particularly those in the Islamic community, to coming across the border. So one of the things that's being highlighted is crime. These people bring in the criminal element. And so we cannot afford to bring any more of them in here because they are criminals, they're undesirables in our country, and we don't want them. That's one of the negative things that we can talk about.
Okay, now I'm going to also ask you, what do you think about the open borders? Because we have had people on our platform talking about we need one Africa, let the borders open, let people move freely. Is that practical?
From my personal view, having one Africa is a monumental task that will take decades. But I've said before, on a regional scale, whether it be ECOWAS over in West Africa or SADC in Southern Africa, you as an African will have more in common with someone from Botswana, someone from South Africa, versus you having so much in common with someone in West Africa. Yes, you're all Africans, but regionally, you have these differences. So, yes, one Africa, sure, as a long-term goal, but I think you'll have to start regionally. Again, people are more familiar where their next door neighbor than just someone down the street. So open borders, yes, doing away with political lines that were drawn up by the Europeans, sure. However, again, we would have to go back to doing it on a regional scale.
Quite interesting. Gentlemen, I'm going to open one of you. Who is going to open here? Let me open.
Hi, Zinki.
Raz.
Can I go
Okay.
next? Hi, Zinki, and
Hey,
to all the
Raz.
listeners, Zinki, thank you very much for allowing me under your panel. From your last stream, I had very compelling arguments, and I also wanted to contribute a bit to the discussion. So thank you for letting me on. Good day to my political theater international brother. I've been listening to you, and just thank you. Okay, so can I just please just give a brief history of Zimbabwe, just a small brief history, and I understand that history is very complicated, but I'll just summarize it.
Okay.
Right. Okay, so Zimbabwe, as we know it, before it was when it was a colony, it was known as Rhodesia, and it was under the British rule, right? And so ZANU PF merged with other political parties, and they all deposed the British rule, right? And so the first president of Zimbabwe was Colonel Banana. Colonel Banana didn't finish his term at the time because he was he was accused of having homosexual activities with his security guards, and he was deposed as president. And from there on, Robert Mugabe ascended to the top of government and essentially became prime minister at the time. I think it was 8 years later, then the whole political government system changed, and he went from prime minister to president, because I think I'm not too sure what happened, but that's not important.
Yeah,
right?
basically that's the best.
Yes, and so from that moment, Robert Mugabe was touted as a hero and as a liberator and all of these things. And then came an issue where the issue of land and the ZANU PF ceding to pressures from the public and all sorts of sectors um, took the land forcefully from the white people, the white citizens, and gave it, and gave the land to their citizens. And what happened was that the world condemned Zimbabwe, and as a result, they placed sanctions on Zimbabwe. I do understand that there was a whole agreement with Tony Blair and Lancaster House agreements and all of that. I do understand that, but essentially, what happened was that Zimbabwe took the land forcefully and gave it to the white people. And in response, the UN and Britain and all sorts of colonial powers placed sanctions on Zimbabwe, and Zimbabwe couldn't provide for their own and their own citizens. And over the years, the economic situation of Zimbabwe deteriorated, right? But the people still kept on voting for ZANU PF. But there was a time whereby there was the MDC leader, Morgan Tsvangirai. Yes, Morgan Tsvangirai, when his party won, and then I'm not too sure what exactly happened, but it was a situation where Morgan Tsvangirai and Robert Mugabe were both presidents at the same time, and I'm not too sure what happened from there on, but essentially he was deposed. I think he stepped down as president, and ZANU PF, kept on leading the country, right? And then what happened later was that towards Robert Mugabe's old age, a coup was led against him by his army, and then they put in Emerson Mnangagwa, and the army general who led the coup became the vice president of the country, and that's where we get present-day Zimbabwe, right? So the reason why I'm giving you this brief history is because we as South Africans are frustrated with Zimbabweans because we feel like Zimbabweans placed themselves into this situation. You understand? That's the reason why we have no sympathy towards Zimbabweans. That's the reason why we have so much resentment towards Zimbabweans, because they are the ones who kept on voting for ZANU PF. Why did they keep voting for ZANU PF? Why? They had, if I see a car coming, right? If I see a car coming at high speed, right? Well, the logical, sensible thing to do is to move away because I don't want to be bumped. But Zimbabweans, they could see that the economy was deteriorating. The Zimbabweans could see that their president was old and couldn't hold office and wasn't fit to hold office anymore. And the Zimbabweans could see that the whole world was condemning them and they were shutting the tap and so many bad things that were happening. And they still did not vote for the other party. Even if there were allegations of elections were rigged and this and that, Zimbabweans did not stand up and say no. And now Zimbabweans are all over South Africa and they're asking us to and they're telling us about we brothers and we African. And no, you guys are the ones who placed yourself into that situation, right? That's number one. Number two, I've been listening to the political theater brother, and he says like we South Africans sound, the language that we're using is the same language that the apartheid government used on South Africa. It's not the same. It's not the same. Here's why. The reason why it's not the same is because apartheid was forcefully imposed on us, and we had to fight for the end. Not only did we have to fight, but we had to. There had to be international political pressure on the system of apartheid, but also there had to be internal pressure for the whole system to collapse and for us to see democracy, right? But Zimbabweans, they are the ones who watched themselves go into the ground. They are the ones who kept on voting for ZANU PF, even when it was clear that Robert Mugabe couldn't lead the party anymore. Even when it was clear when Robert Mugabe was sleeping at rallies, when he was falling down the stairs, they kept on voting for ZANU PF. Right now, we South Africans are expected to welcome the whole entire Zimbabwean population into our neighborhoods and speak about we're all brothers. And no, no,
Okay,
it's the
Raz.
decision. It's
Okay,
the
just keep
it's
some
the
more points
decision
that
that
you
they
have.
made. Wait,
Okay,
can I
Raz.
complete? It's the
Okay, thank you.
decision that they made. Stick with your decision. You voted for ZANU PF. Stick with your ZANU PF. Leave us alone.
Okay, thank you, brother. Thank you. Just hold on. Someone is going to respond to you. I'm sure we have some people who are going to be able to respond to what you spoke about when you said the Zimbabweans who kept on voting and voting. So I'll leave that to the audience. We're going to be having someone to answer you that. Right now, I'm going to be opening the mic for Sebastian. Welcome, Sebastian. Oh, sorry, I've not added you to the stream. Okay, sorry. Welcome.
Okay. Yeah, well, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah, I was listening to what Rez is saying right now. In a way, that is the sentiment of people on the ground in South Africa. But the issue goes further than that. You know, ANC is the same issue. You know, you can't say the people kept on voting when we realize the fact that ANC is the same thing. You know, it's better the enemy you know than the one you don't know. In South Africa, we don't want to vote for another political party because we don't know what would happen. We're scared of that thing, and it goes back to the old people too. So I feel like we cannot be just blaming people for keeping on voting ZANU PF. It doesn't actually work that way. It's the fact that there's no better alternative, and you cannot be sure of MBC being a better alternative. That has not been tested. Okay, you have to take into account that maybe could be a better alternative, but then you have to take into account the people that fought for the struggle. Those people are fighting for the struggle, and they have a say in this too. The elders of the day, they have a say in this. So I think it's not easy to just say they voted or they keeping themselves in this problem. You have to understand that the people that felt the pain of the past, they don't want something different because they feel like what they have right now is what they want. Is what they wanted back then. And I think it's us. It's upon us in the youth, as the youth, to educate our people who have a stronger voting force. Like, I mean, people in the rural areas in Zimbabwe, they have very strong voting force. ZANU PF knows this. That's why most rallies are held there. It's because they know they have strongholds there. So you go to your stronghold, obviously. That's what ANC always does. What do? Go to KZN, to the villages. You know, that's where your stronghold is now. Why do you think they're losing the metros all of a sudden? You know, it just goes to that point of they go to where they know that these people don't know of a better alternative. They haven't been educated on the better alternatives policies. Sometimes the alternative doesn't even have better policies. It just goes back to the enemy that you know instead of the enemy you don't know. And I was listening to my brother political theater. I feel like the one Africa thing is impossible. It's not realistic at all. And I think us Africans, we don't want one Africa. The other in South Africa, other Africans only want one Africa when problems arise with them being in the country. They will tell you, "Oh, we are Africans," when they don't condemn their brothers for crime. It doesn't happen, you know. But when South Africans stick up for themselves, "Oh, we are African. Why are you guys doing this to us?" Meaning, like, even this whole thing of Operation Tudula, it was meant to come up in this conversation. I'm just bringing it up early. I feel like they have a valid issue, but the thing is, they're not going about it the right way. I support them fully, 100%. But I'm just saying, like, if you want to clean the streets, clean the streets. Don't just be standing on one thing and doing it in a way that's not justified. If you want to clean the streets, take up brooms. You know, don't go harass people. It doesn't work that way. So I'm just saying, the whole issue is actually bigger than that. And when Ziki was saying was find solutions, I think that we should actually be thinking about the whole corruption of ZANU PF. We should be talking to those issues like ZANU PF corruption, the policies that they have in place, policies that they don't even follow. There's no freedom of speech in Zimbabwe, but it's part of the bedrock. How is that possible? We don't get it. Why do people move? Why do people go to crocodile-infested rivers to come to South Africa? We need to talk to those things and South African policies in the same situation. No, South Africa has good immigration policies. Why doesn't South Africa implement them? It goes back to our corruption too. the thing about America, there's a whole nother issue because America is the first tier what is this country in the whole world. Everybody wants to run there, and they have the money to sustain these people that are coming there in droves. They just need to be verified. They do not coming with drugs and all these things. The Mexicans, the people from Honduras, El Salvador, all these places. But when it comes to Africa, it's a whole different ball game because we have so many different tribes, so many different cultures. You can't just assimilate easily into South Africa as you would into America because America is a country for immigrants. Whereas South Africa it's very different. I can't just come from any other place and want to be part of the culture. Yes, you're right when you say regionally we can try and assimilate people. But what do you do when you have people from Ghana, Nigeria, Egypt, Pakistan, Bangladesh, everywhere in the world is coming to South Africa? I mean, we have Russians, Ukrainians, Japanese, Chinese. We're trying the whole rainbow nation concept, but it's at the detriment of normal South Africans who didn't benefit from freedom. We're still not benefiting from it, but people who come from outside are benefiting much more. It goes back to what people were saying about our hospitals being about 40% foreigners and the teachers and all these things. I think we need the whole thing of implementing our own policies and working on that as South Africa and encouraging our neighbors in before the radicalism comes in. We need to encourage our neighbors and make a test run to see if this will actually work. Sending convoys won't work all the time. It needs to be a radical thing at the end of the day. But we need the people in Zimbabwe to also not have this. Zimbabweans have this. They don't have a fight or flight. They only have a fight. What is this mechanism? They need to have a fight mechanism also to address what they have in the country. And if needs be, we will supply them with guns. So that's my point. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, for now, I am going to mute your mic. And let me go back to political theater because I invited them. They might need to leave us, early. Now, I'm coming back to you, political theater. We have had a brother here talk about, the change of government. In your understanding and in your expertise, has this ever really helped? Let me open your mic. Sorry, the mic was closed.
So the question is the chain of government taking place. Is it beneficial or is it more harmful? Well, what I do see is that it's up to the youth to want to change the world that they're in. There's my mother's generation. She was born in the 40s, and they were called baby boomers, and they changed the landscape from the old guard in the 60s, 70s to the new guard. So a breath of fresh air coming from the youth is 100%. And let me get back to the question about one federated Africa. For myself personally, I'm under no illusion that is a plan that'll take 5, 6, 7 years. That's it's a long-term goal. But I think the gentleman also mentioned about that different tribes and this, that, and the other. Well, the same can be said. This thing about immigration is worldwide. We can look at the massive immigration of Japanese to Peru, and so this whole migratory process is not new. Maybe if we looked at the trends, so well, this is what happened to them. I'll give an example. In the 1980s, the Japanese government said, "Man, we're going to lose a generation because they're not procreating. They weren't having children enough." So what ended up happening was that the elderly were dying off and there was no one to replace them. So at the turn of the century, the Japanese sent many of their citizens voluntarily, gave them passports and said goodbye. They came to the United States, they came to Peru, and they came to Brazil. Now there's 4 or 5 generations that have lived in these countries. The Japanese government said, why don't you guys come back home now? So a mass migration from Peru, Brazil, went back to Japan. But guess what the Japanese said who were there on the ground? They said, "You're not Japanese." So even though same ethnic group was not welcome in their own ethnic country, Japan. They were those people. They were them. See, this migratory process is not something that is strictly fundamental to that region of Africa. It is on a worldwide scale. So, with that being said, maybe we look at examples of other places and what they did and
But
how they cured or either addressed their immigration problem. Go ahead, man.
okay, so you're giving us examples of other countries that have gone through this similar situation that is going on in South Africa. But still, I'm coming back to you. How did they solve the problems, or maybe the problems are still there up to today?
Well, someone that said earlier that America is a nation of immigrants. That is so correct. But the massive immigration that happened between England and other countries going to the United States. So they gave them political rights. The immigrants kept coming. So now we're a country of immigrants. The very immigrants, right, are saying to my ethnic group, you don't belong here. So we've given up 300 some odd free labor, and now they're saying, you don't belong here. You're not really American. Go back to listen to me. Go back to Africa.
Mm.
you know. So again, the language is similar, and so is the behavior. So we have to let's analyze. Let's look at what happened here. When I was in Cuba, the Cuban government facing the same problem. In one generation, we're going to lose because we're not procreating, right? So I asked a question to one of the officials. Well, why don't you start going to America and the massive Cuban immigrants that came in the 80s, their children's children, have them come back. Say, look, come back to help us. We know you guys live under bad circumstances, but come back home to us and help us build a better Cuba. You see, so this is what we have to think about, and think about the economies. Um, there has been the African Union has been working on doing away with the tariffs, but that comes with bringing down the borders, the political borders, the lines. They're talking about there's only, I think it's 5% trade between inter-African nations. So the Ghanas are not trading with Zimbabweans, but they're not trading with Ethiopians. So in this economy, how can you win when you're not trading with one another and you have the material resources to do so? This would be a benefit to what I said, regional, if possible. But these are the benefits. When the Europeans, the history of the EU is not in the 90s. It started in the 60s with the economic. We need to do this because you got the German Deutschmark over here. You got the English pound. You got Spanish this and the other. Let's do away with the money. The political came 30, 40 years later.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Interesting. Anyway, I'm going to open the mic for Bullet, and I'm going to mute you, Political Theater. Thank you. I'll get back to you. Let's have Bullet.
Oh, hello, guys.
Hello.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that the thing about undocumented people, we shouldn't be too harsh because we have to remember that whether we like it or not, if Zimbabwe is not okay, they will keep on coming. So my solutions are because normally undocumented foreigners tend to grab land and create informal settlements. So the government should bring down the informal settlements and take all the documented foreigners, specifically women and children, force them to rent within the South African townships because we know that our people are able to live with foreigners because we have been living with Mozambicans for a while now. And then after they've rented, even same thing with the hijacked buildings, the government should take out the undocumented ones, deport them. Then after they fix the buildings and the documented ones will live in the buildings, but they will pay rent. but the rent will be reasonable because we understand most documented foreigners do not even have better jobs. So
Okay.
my another point that I wanted to make is that the government should also enforce the quota of 60% South Africans and 40% foreign nationals, so that this friction that has been happening, it shouldn't be that much. And then for public hospitals, the government should add a fee so that at least we can benefit, because now there's a problem of you go to the hospital or the clinic, and then after you get help, they cannot even give you pills because there's a shortage of pills. So uh, foreign nationals should at least contribute something per month. It shouldn't be too much, but at least something to help the government. And my last point that I wanted to say is that every time I see that in the news, I see that a foreign national has maybe murdered a South African. It pains me, but to be honest, it is not only foreign nationals who are doing it. And if the same thing that is happening to Zimbabwe happened to, for example, if it happened to Botswana, because I'm Botswana and my grandfather came from Botswana. If it happened to Botswana and the Botswana people were flocking to South Africa, to be honest, I will never chase away a Botswana person. I will fight tooth and nail to keep them in my country. So I don't see why should I act different when it comes to Zimbabweans. We should be just logical because
Zingi, can I please respond? So
wait
sorry.
first, wait
Yes.
first. Let me finish. Let me finish.
Yes, after you, my brother.
Okay, yeah. The thing, my point is, I'm a South African, and whether we like it or not, if Zimbabwe is not okay, the borders won't stop them. Imagine someone crossing a crocodile river. Even if we build a wall, the borders won't stop them. The government should just enforce the law.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's all I
Thank you
want.
so much,
Okay.
Bullet.
Thank you,
I'm
Ziki.
going to mute you right now. Wait, Red. I'm going to give you, Red, just about a minute or so to finish your point so that we can give others a chance. I do have a lot of people, in the stream who wants to join. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Ziki. I want to comment on the point made by Bullet. Look, you cannot compare Botswana and Zimbabwe. In fact, whenever this question arises about one Africa, African unity, the number one country that South Africans want to merge with, if we would ever, if we were to ever merge or join with another country to create another sovereign nation, the one country that always comes into mind is Botswana and Namibia. Those two countries are excellent. We share a similar culture to them. Their economies are good. Their citizens don't give us as much headache as the ones from Nigeria and Zimbabwe. So you cannot equate Botswana and Zimbabwe. You cannot say because you have Botswana heritage in you, you cannot fight someone from Botswana, and in the same breath that equates to the person from Zimbabwe. It's not the same, right? Botswana is a landlocked country like Zimbabwe, right? Why did Botswana end up? How did Botswana end up to be one of the gems of Africa? I mean, their currency is much higher than ours. I think it's. I think 1 rand is. I think 1 pula equates to 2 rands. Their economy is strong, but they're a landlocked country. How did they achieve that? And Zimbabwe end up the way that it has. It's said.
Okay.
So
Can I respond?
what we say.
Can I respond?
No,
quickly,
let me
please?
finish.
Okay.
Okay, let me finish. What we saying is that Zimbabwe needs to sort out their issues. They need to sort out their issues. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, thank you.
If people from Botswana come, do you understand? Okay.
Yeah, I understand.
No, you're going to continue later. Sorry, just hold on to your point. I need to open the mic for Shingi. Welcome, Shingi. Okay, Shingi, I will remove you from the stream because I think you are not there. Let me have Tepo. Oh, you're here, Shingi. Okay, go ahead.
I muted my mic.
Okay, go ahead, Shingi.
Hello, sorry, how do I pronounce your name? Is it CK?
Yes, yes, please.
Oh, hi, CK, you okay?
Okay, we are fine. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to add a little bit of contribution with regards to the topic. I want to say to Raz, the people that are leaving Zimbabwe, most of them are not living by choice. Most of them is a political situation which has been created by the ZANU-PF in line with ANC. Some of the problems which we are having, ANC as a political party in South Africa, they have decided not to get too much involved into the situation that is happening in Zimbabwe because they look at ZANU-PF as a political sister in terms of their political, alignment. I once lived in South Africa myself, and I left South Africa in 2006. And the lady, Ugogo, engangihlala naye, told me that things were changing. She used to tell me all the time that I should move out of South Africa because one day the people are going to uprise and turn against foreigners. I was never an illegal immigrant, by the way. I was documented. And I moved my way to the United Kingdom, which I personally feel it was a very good move. With all the things I'm seeing today, people dying, people being killed, people being banned and all that, all this hatred you guys have against Zimbabweans is just a bizarre to me. Because when I was growing up as a child, during time, isikhathi somzabalazo lapho eSouth Africa, we used to see a lot of, especially in my school, that we had a lot of South African teachers who were at my school, who were like refugees, who had fled South Africa. In Waterfalls, I don't know if other Zimbabweans will tell, there's a suburb in Zimbabwe called Waterfalls. We had a lot of South Africans who were living there in Waterfalls. And some of them, they are even still there today. So to tell us, we are like strangers to you guys, it's very, very bad. And it's not nice for you to say that. Because the only thing that separates us is that Limpopo River, which those borders were put by the whites anyway. So to be honest, it's not very nice. When I'm in South Africa, I feel like I'm at home. Even if I'm visiting South Africa, I've got people who are very nice, who are very beautiful, who doesn't have a spirit of hatred, which I'm hearing from here. You guys, you are like another political party which we have here in England called UKIP that just hates foreigners. Everywhere you go, even here in England, some people think if there are problems or any economical problems, they are being caused by the foreigners. But that is not true. Foreigners, they contribute a lot in other people's economies. I can understand the issues of undocumented migrants, but there are reasons for people sometimes to live in that situations of being undocumented. Some people here in the UK, I've met South Africans who I know, I'm not going to mention them by name, true South Africans, not that they are fake South Africans, who have lived in the UK undocumented. And then later on, they managed to, to legalize their status, some even by marrying people or doing other issues. So this is a foreign issue when people travel around the world, or maybe they move from their place and go to other places. They face
Sorry
issues.
to cut you off, brother Shingi. Sorry to cut you off. I need to ask you something there. You know, you
Yes,
mentioned
okay.
about, you mentioned something to do with illegal immigrants in the UK and everything. My question to you is, what do you think should be done in South Africa? We see that there is an influx of undocumented Zimbabweans. Now, should South Africa just let the people just be roaming the streets undocumented like that? What is your solution to that? Or what are you suggesting?
That is a very complex scenario. That's why, ZK, I said it's a very political issue, because people from Zimbabwe are not going to stop coming to South Africa, first of all. That is a fact. Unless if they are going to create that border, which they are going to create like a big wall, which Trump wanted to build in America for the Mexicans. Because Zimbabweans have become like Mexicans entering America, like the way the Mexicans enter America. That's the same thing with Zimbabwe, because as long there is political instability in Zimbabwe, South Africa is going to suffer. There is no way South Africa is going to run away from that. There's always going to be illegal migration, and there's also going to be legal migration. So as long from the upper root, if everything gets resolved in a political stance at an upper level, that's how this situation is going to be resolved. I don't think it's going to be resolved in the same. If they want, they can give amnesty to those that are there, but I cannot guarantee you, even if they give amnesty to those that are there, there will be still more coming. Because if the political situation is going to still be the same in Zimbabwe, and ANC is doing dilly-dallying with ZANU-PF, there is nothing. This man was saying Zimbabweans, they've never done anything. Did he not hear the people that were shot by the soldiers in Zimbabwe? Were they not trying to do an uprising? There are disappearance. People do disappear in Zimbabwe. There is a lot of stuff that goes under there which is unreported world. When people are trying to rise, and it's not like people are just sitting idly. There are people who are trying to do things. You understand? But just to come up and say, people are not doing anything, they are not making any move, they are not making any action, that is something wrong. So I think in my own response.
Yes.
Thank you so much, brother. I am going to give you another chance later.
No,
I have a lot of people here waiting to contribute, okay?
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. You can come out of the live stream so that I add other people. Tsepo, I'm going to open your mic. Shingi, I'm going to remove you from the stream so that I add other people. Tsepo.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes,
please go ahead.
Okay. Good evening to everyone. I have a few points of contention with some of the things that I've heard in this discussion. And one of the biggest ones was this confusion of legal versus illegal. South Africans, for the most part, don't have a problem with legal foreigners. For the most part, we don't have a problem. The problem is the illegal people who cross our borders and disrespect our law. The moment you cross the border, that's it. You've already declared that you have no respect for the laws of this country. So why should these people in the borders of South Africa have any respect for you? And listen, I understand Zimbabwe is going through political turmoil and so forth. Okay, but that doesn't give you a right to go into another person's country and cause even more hardship. Over 50% of South Africans live under the poverty line. That's 30.5 million people. No one is talking about that. If we cannot help our own people first, what makes you think that we can accommodate you? Our own healthcare system is overcrowded. The Eastern Cape, schools don't have roofs. Right now, in the beginning of the year, there was a backlog of pupils who couldn't be admitted to schools because our infrastructure is not sufficient for our own indigenous population. So my question to all the people who are using these sentimental arguments, and I understand it's bad. This is the funny thing to me. You caused your own political collapse, and yet you look at the ANC in South Africa. It's like, I was sabotaging myself. Why didn't you help? Why didn't you stop me from sabotaging myself? That makes no sense. So my question to all of the people who are using these sentimental arguments that they are just economic migrants and so forth and so forth. My question is this. Our own people are suffering. What exactly is it that you are expecting to get from the South African economy when 50% of our own people are living under the poverty line and the government should cater to those people? And you get people who talk about how, South Africans are not willing to do the low skill jobs and so forth and so forth. I come from Ekasi. That's a lie. South Africans have been domestic cleaners. We've been garden boys for centuries now. In what universe is a poor person, right, being offered 5,000 rands a month to do some menial low-skill labor job in Soshanguve, somewhere or Soweto? In what universe is that person going to go, well, I know I'm poor and there's nothing to eat tonight, but you know what? Because I'm a South African and I'm lazy, I'm not going to do this job. That never happens. It's a narrative that a lot of people push, that South Africans don't want to do low-skill jobs. No, we want to do low-skill jobs. There's a reason why there's a push to get people who are foreigners out of the low-skill sector, in farming, in the hospitality industry, and so forth. Because those kinds of jobs are supposed to be done by mainly South African youth who are either coming out of high school, getting experience in the workforce or whatever, or coming out of university or whatever. Those kinds of jobs should be reserved for the youth. So my question is this. Yeah.
Ask your question.
Yes. What exactly is the expectation when you leave your own bad country and you come over here and make things worse when we cannot even provide for ourselves? What's the expectation there? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tsepo. I'm going to remove you from the stream so that I add other people. We have limited number of people who can be there. Okay. Now, before we continue, guys, like for the past discussions that we've had, we have listed a number of problems. Okay, South Africans have had a number of problems, and some people were thinking like we were not paying attention, but we were actually paying attention. I can tell you that I have a list of problems that were mentioned in our previous discussions. So tonight, we want to look at possible solutions. I'm just going to give you, just some of the problems that were mentioned so that I give you the heads up of what we are talking about, okay? We have people who are talking about unemployment in South Africa with limited resources. The healthcare sector, is fatigued. We have at the streets of South Africa, they're all infested with rubbish because of foreigners sleeping in the streets. The crime rate, drug issues, illegal occupation of buildings, increasing shanty towns or increasing the mukuku. The foreigners acquiring RDP houses, okay, made for the South Africans. We also had people in situations of, the porous borders, corrupt police officials, corrupt immigration officials. We also talked about the issue of, someone talked about the issue of entitlement and disrespect coming from Zimbabweans, that they are not grateful. And someone saying, talking about Ubuntu. Okay, other people saying it's Ubuntu, but some people are saying people are hiding behind Ubuntu, in trying to stop the real problems that are there. So these are some of the problems that were mentioned, and I took note of them. So tonight we want to find possible solutions to this problem. So right now I'm going to open the mic for the talking Safa.
Hello, Zeki. I've
Hello,
been
you're
meaning
welcome.
to catch this live. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for allowing me in. I just want to say I caught this live like whilst people were already talking. So I'm only gonna speak on the stuff that I've heard so far and also be able to give a little bit of my own mind in terms of giving possible solutions. But before I go in a little bit further, is I want to quote from Utata Robert Mugabe from one of his old interviews that he has done in relation to South Africa and South African affairs and how Zimbabwe how Zimbabwe is connected, or rather how they are connected together. And he says, and I quote, and I'm going to paraphrase because it was quite an interview. He said, we cannot avoid South Africa because it is a geographical reality. A policy of coexistence is the best we can do. Our view, meaning the Zimbabwean view, because he was the Zimbabwean president at the time, our view is that South Africa should avoid interfering in our affairs, meaning Zimbabwean affairs, and so should we, meaning vice versa. We will support opponents of apartheid only politically and diplomatically and the international forums. But it is not our duty to take up arms against South Africa. That is the right and the obligation of the South African people to correct their own grievances, their own way. We can only assist by giving them political and in diplomatic matters, right? Why I'm quoting this? Because he made some very, very important points here. He said that to solve South Africans' problems, because South Africa was facing that at the time, it is up to the people of South Africa, because he understood that South Africa is a sovereign country with its own people, with its own culture and its own way of dealing with things. And he understands that Zimbabweans are the same, right? Not to say that we cannot talk about each other's issues or we cannot assist where we are, where we can, but we must not mingle to a point where we try to dictate and allude to the other country how they should solve their problems, right? So I say all of this to say, in my own view, South Africa does not have a problem with foreigners. I think that's where everything stems from, because now we've been put into this blanket thing that South Africans do not want foreigners. South Africans do not have a problem with foreigners. We understand that there are documented foreigners, there are highly skilled workers that are working in South Africa. And unfortunately, this whole thing that is happening right now is tarnishing the good reputation of very skilled Zimbabweans that we have in the country. Not only Zimbabweans, but other nations as well. It's tarnishing them, and they are being put into the same blanket and being caught in the crossfire, right? Now, the issue here is the influx of illegal migrants. Now, you might ask yourself, illegal migrants, who feels this the most? The people that feel the influx of illegal migrants the most are people that live in Ekasi, Elokshin, the people that cannot get access to low income jobs, for example, because what illegal foreigners would do then is to come in and accept the lower income and accept being exploited, thus making it hard for people, natives, and driving that market to accept the lower wages. And I don't think that it is fair for that to happen even to South Africans in South Africa. And I would say the same thing would happen if it was Zimbabwe that was in this very same situation. Zimbabweans will find themselves complaining about the same thing. So let's be real. Now, another thing is, if we were to look at our countries and where we stand economically, I love the idea, and I'm sorry, I'm taking a little bit long. I love the idea of Pan-Africanism. It is a beautiful dream. It is one thing that we can all strive for, but it becomes a pipe dream if all of our states or all of our countries in South Africa are not matched economically. So that means in some of the points that you have raised about the root causes, like the healthcare sector and the crime rates and corruption and all of these things, if the countries, for example, I'm going to mention Zimbabwe right now, if Zimbabwe can handle its own internal issues and invest in its own healthcare system, crime, corruption, and investing it in its own infrastructure, then we can be able to talk and be able to freely trade between these two countries. And we can be able to talk about the idea of Pan-Africanism and be able to move freely between these countries. This goes the same to all of the countries that are in Africa, right? But the reality is that all of these other states are unmatched economically. So therefore, it puts a heavy burden on one country. And that is not fair. That is not fair. And another thing is that if people of South Africa are crying about a situation, the people that feel it the most are crying about a certain situation, and no one is taking them into consideration and their grievances and trying to solve the problems that South Africans are saying they are facing in South Africa. Trust and believe that South Africans will sort out their own problems themselves. It runs in our blood. We are like that. It has always been like that. Whenever we feel that our government is not listening to us, what did we do? We took to the streets. That's what our fathers did. That's what our great uncles did. So why is it now a new phenomena that now we can sit in these screens and talk about it like this and act as if this is new? Now, I'm not saying that illegal migrants should be killed or so and so and so many bad things should happen. That is not okay. That is crime. That's not what we're talking about right now. But let's deal with the fact that there are illegal migrants.
Okay, sorry, sis, to cut you short. I am going to, you can hold on to the point that you want to say so that I give, Sebastian has been holding on for a long time. They want to respond to some of the things that you talked about right now.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sis. I think Sebastian has left. Now I'm going to open for Rad. I'm opening your mic.
Thank you, Zikeri. Well, I want to respond to the talking Safa. Those are great points that she made, and I love the comment that she made about Zimbabwe. That's a beautiful comment. And what that quote from Robert Mugabe highlights is that South Africans is a lot of the times because of our because South Africa is joining Zimbabwe and we share a border. People there's a bit of a gray area where people think that we're the same, we're not the same. But the fact is South Africa and Zimbabwe are two different nations, two sovereign nations that have their own constitution, their own laws, their own history, and their own way of doing things. And Zimbabwe shouldn't interfere into the internal affairs of South Africa, and South Africa shouldn't interfere into the internal affairs of Zimbabwe. So you can't ask, like the previous caller, Shingi, and I hope Shingi's listening. What Shingi said was that the ANC views ZANU-PF as a sister political party, and they are the ones who are tiptoeing around the issue of Zimbabwe. And my response to that is no, we can't be involved in Zimbabwe's issues. Zimbabwe needs to solve their own issues. You can't say that South Africa is simply standing there watching, not doing. No, it's not our position to. What we should do is that South Africa should take care of its own people, grow its economy, and build the brand of the South African country. People from Zimbabwe must do their own must do their own thing. If Zimbabwe goes astray, that's your issue. Solve your own issues. But what I want to do is that I want to speak about the solutions for South Africa, right? The solutions are that number one is that we should build borders, fortresses around the Mozambique and Zimbabwe borders, because those are the two countries that are giving us the most headache. Not Botswana, not Namibia. Personally, I wish if we would ever unite with a country, I wish it's Botswana and Namibia for us to become one country, not Zimbabwe, not Mozambique. That's number one. We need to build strong barricades, the kind of barricades that they have between North and South Korea. Those barricades have landmines. Those barricades have long walls. They even have armies patrolling around these borders. Those are the sort of borders that we need, number one. Number two, I believe that us people who aren't in government, we can be referred to as civil society, need to engage and persuade government and all other institutions, all other stakeholder institutions like your Home Affairs, your police, and all other relevant institutions for us to pursue the illegal immigrants and deport them, right? And deport these illegal immigrants, right? Number one, we should assess of the immigrants who are the ones who give us the most headache. In my opinion, it's Nigerians, right? So what should happen with Nigeria is that we should ban access of South Africa to Nigerians, and only the ones that we need should come here. That's my opinion, right?
Okay.
And also, as my final point is, because South Africa has such, as we know that South Africa has a lot of has a lot of professors who've worked for many years in the South African government. Maybe if Zimbabwe was serious about changing the situation around, maybe they could employ senior, experienced government officials into the Zimbabwe government, so that they can also have a positive effect on if they are serious, right? The final one is the main reason why Zimbabwe finds themselves in the situation that they find themselves in is because they were placed under sanctions from the UN because they took away land from the white owners. Why aren't the Zimbabweans speaking about somehow recalling the whites who ran away from their country and somehow giving them back the land? And after having that agreement, go and persuade the UN to take down the sanctions. Why aren't they having those conversations? Why aren't those conversations being had? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to open for Sebastian.
Ziki, can I add a little bit, please?
Just hold on, bro. Just hold on. Can I say something?
Okay.
So wait, I want to see who is. Okay, Sebastian, go ahead.
Okay, so what Rez is saying is actually what I was thinking, and I support his statements on the whole border issue thing. And I feel like we should go further with the whole border instead of building a wall, which definitely South Africa cannot afford. We have to do what North Korea did and put landmines there. That would deter anybody from trying to enter the country legally. It would be radical. It's very radical. I think the other solution that is also going to be very radical, and I think it's something that us as South African youth, we should push for, because there's a lot of guns roaming around in South Africa that are just being used on, we're using it on ourselves. Okay, why don't we use it for
Sorry, Sebastian, to cut you short. There are some words that you shouldn't mention in many times on the stream. To do with weapons, to do with all those kind of stuff. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Then let me just say we should just issue a policy of regime change in Zimbabwe. This should be spearheaded, maybe because the government won't do it, the youth should do it. And Zimbabwe youth should do it too, because they have access to all the resources in South Africa. If we look at stats of our prison system, those stats just goes to show, and the type of crimes that are being committed goes to show that Zimbabweans do have the resources to actually activate regime change in their own country. We should just be supporting them in that issue. And that's a very radical issue, but I think in that way, when you go for regime change, you need to have somebody who's willing to step in. Just like the coup with Mugabe, they had the army already had somebody, which was Mnangagwa. He was already ready to become president. They had him. He was in waiting. The coup was initiated. They already had somebody in waiting, and he's president today. So I feel like the best person, and we need a puppet. There's no such thing as we don't need a puppet. We need a puppet in Zimbabwe. It's the only way the sanctions will be lifted. It's the only way trade will be initiated. A big, and places like China would support the people, because China supports the people, and not only China, America would do it, Britain would do it, because there's something they always wanted. The main reason the sanctions is because they've always wanted regime change. It's not something that is going to be new to them. So just the fact that the youth initiate themselves would be a better thing for them. And this way, for them to have a puppet, and the puppet, we can already see who the puppet is. That's going to be Chamisa. Is a perfect candidate to be puppet in Zimbabwe. So we need to, I think, support such radicalism, and in that way, the whole government system will change Zimbabwe. That's what I'm saying. with regards to radicalism in Zimbabwe, because there's no other way it could be any other different, because nobody will vote ZANU PF out. They have the power. They control ZEC, Zimbabwe Election, Elections Commission. They control the broadcasting. They control the narrative, everything, So the only thing is we should be more harsh on them so that South Africa could eradicate the problem. And not only Zimbabwe, for that fact, we have to be very strict with our borders. We have to be like apartheid if it has to be. Because some policies of apartheid worked, no matter how us as black people can be looking down on the whole issue. But they worked. If policies can work for 21% of the population the way they did, then what's stopping them from working for 80% of the population or 100%? So that's what I think we should be pushing for. We should be radical in this whole thing. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to remove you from the stream so that I aid others. Now I'm going to open the mic for Azania. Go ahead. If you are not in the stream, I'm afraid I will have to remove you so that I'm going to open the mic for Bullet so that they can give their contribution, and I'm going to remove them. Bullet, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that Lesotho, we have had problems with Lesotho nationals because they always carry guns, and they also are involved in illegal mining. So all the energy is going towards Zimbabweans. I'm asking myself, why isn't the same energy going towards Lesotho nationals? Is it because we have a large population of Basotho in South Africa? That's my point. And another thing I wanted to add, you remember I gave you some solutions that I suggested. So I forgot to talk about a community policing forum that is endorsed by the government, where they patrol the streets and our infrastructure at night to protect the infrastructure and to protect the locals, even foreigners who are living within our community. And my third point is that Europe and USA have been struggling with this, and the approach that my fellow South Africans are taking is the same approach that Europe and USA has been taking. It's not working between Mexico and USA. Even the thing that Trump built, the people still got a way of passing through. It hasn't been working. We are going to talk about this for many years. That's what I'm saying. And coming back to my point is that the squatter camps should be taken down. Foreigners should rent within the townships. Hijack buildings they should take out people who are selling drugs there, and they should rent it out to foreigners, specifically women and children. And then foreigners who are accessing our public health sector, their government should be charged. All the foreigners will contribute something, because we have to be honest, they are working, most of them are gardeners or are helping in the house. So when we take this approach of saying build land mines so that Zimbabweans don't enter, we have to know that after we do that and we succeed in preventing Zimbabweans from entering our country, it will affect our Africa too. That's the first point. And the second point is that one day, when the same thing happens to South Africans, other Africans will remember we are treating them bad. I know it's painful that our people are dying in the hands of illegal migrants, but we have to act as sober people. Yeah, that's all.
Okay. Thank you so much, Bullet. I'm going to ask Nobizile.
Yeah,
Sorry.
good evening, good evening, good
Good
evening.
evening.
Yes, I will try to be brief, right? My name is Mr. Ngube. Right, what is happening is South Africa has got a problem, right? This problem didn't start today. It's been there for decades, you see. So now when people are only realizing it now, they want to act out of anger because they are right. They are right because definitely South Africans are suffering. But the major problem is what they are doing now is not the solution. There is a lot of things happening on the ground. You see, there is a lot of criminal activities happening on the ground, not by Zimbabweans. You understand? By many people which are locals and other foreign nationals, including Zimbabweans. Okay, when we talk about the border, tightening the border, there are people working at the border who are supposed to be guarding the border. They can make it that people don't come through if they are not documented. But people are passing. People have got a notion of saying they think that people are coming in through crocodiles. There is no crocodiles, guys. People are paying 100 rands per head to enter at the border. Those ones that are guarding at the border, that are supposed to block the people at the border, what is happening is people are living under a survival mode, right? Not only at the border is where the problem is, even at Home Affairs itself. Now people are talking about documented foreign nationals. How are they documented? Because we know this is a fact. We know there are many Zimbabweans carrying South African birth certificates, carrying South African IDs. And there are many Nigerian nationals, there are many foreign nationals, not even limited to Nigerian and Zimbabweans. But those foreign nationals, they've got documentation. So now when we say legal immigrants, we are talking about people, some of them who attained those documents fraudulently and are committing heavy crime. Those ones are not charged, they are called legal. But there are some people who are called illegal, not because they want to be illegal, but even if they go to Home Affairs, they don't get the help. And those ones are innocent people who are working. Okay, even if those people, they come out of those domestic works and they get deported, how do you expect somebody to move their furniture from South Africa to Zimbabwe? Because these people have been here for more than 20 years. Yeah, they've actually settled here in South Africa. They've got children and grandchildren here in South Africa. So what I'm trying to show the people is we have got a big problem. The politicians were supposed to address the problem from the word go. It's not like they didn't know. They knew from the ministers, from the president, they knew. It's unfortunate that I myself, I've got evidence. I spoke to them. At some point, I wrote them emails. I told them that people will rise. People will be angry. Solve out this. Things are getting out of hand on the ground, but nobody was listening. Now, let me tell you what will happen in South Africa. The only solution is that the South Africans, they must not fight anyone, but they must join hands with the other people and identify the problems on the ground so that they can be solved. Even if you chase out undocumented Zimbabweans, still those that are that you call documented, some of them are criminals. Most of them, they've got these monies, they bribe everywhere. It's like, for instance, drug dealers. When we talk of drug dealers, those people are driving latest cars, Mercedes, BMWs, always full tank, right? You don't touch those people, because if you catch him, you will take out a document that is legalizing him to be in the country. You say, this one is a legal immigrant, we're not gonna touch him. But he's a big drug dealer. He's giving drugs to the people. So I say, if we don't address the issues as they are, what will happen is people will rise and people will fight. Even if you say Zimbabweans must go to Zimbabwe, there are problems there. And there are no jobs there. When I say no jobs, I mean no jobs. People will go and sit at home and die of hunger. So people will say, let me just sit in South Africa. If I die, I die. And you will kill them, I'm telling you. You will kill them. Before the guy died there in Deep Sloot, I warned the people that are marching. I said, you know what, you don't need to go there. It's either you will kill people or people will kill some of you. Sit down and come up with a strategic plan on how to solve the problems, because there is a big problem and no one is addressing it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to open for Josie.
Yeah, greetings everyone. Look, for me, I think we must just be honest with each other over here. If you've come into the country illegally, you're an illegal immigrant. That's just a fact. Not just that, if you've obtained South African citizenship illegally, because there's actually a way of finding out if you are here illegally. 9 out of 10 times, what they do is they steal someone's identity or they use a dead person's identity. So there's a way of also tracking that down at Home Office. There are ways of getting around that. So for me, one of the things that South Africans have to do is look into that as well, especially the government, because there's a way of tracking these documents down. Because a lot of people who are committing crimes with South African identities overseas, many of them were found to be illegal immigrants. That's what happened. And there's actually a way of tracking that down at Home Affairs. So for me, that can be solved. Those are one of the things we need to look into. The border, I think we need to look into corrupt officials that are assisting illegal immigrants in coming into our country. And another thing, we need to also put up a fence, because some people are actually coming through the fence. It's not always the case that people are walking straight through the border. It's been proven, it's been shown many times that there are many people running across the border or cutting a hole in a fence and running through the fence. That's something that we need to look into. So, like an electric fence that shocks you before you even touch it is important. So we need something like that. We need electric fences, something that'll prevent people from coming in, border control, landmines if it has to be. But whatever needs to be there has to be there. And of course, the corruption at the border gates, the corruption at Home Affairs, in terms of selling people like our South African identities, that also really, really needs to be looked into. There's actually a way of actually tracking those people down. Getting South African citizenship legally is really difficult. It's not as simple as just paying for it. So we can do those things. So for me, it's that the border control, what do you call, like the corruption at Home Affairs and at the border. The electric fence needs to be put up, and we need to make sure that we as South Africans hold our own government accountable, because I think what I've come to realize is that we have no control what happens in Zimbabwe and other African countries. And then another thing, I think not just Zimbabwe and Mozambique, but I think there needs to be a fence around what is it, Lesotho, and around Lesotho and Swazi, because a lot of Lesotho nationals are doing a lot of dirt here as well. So they're very problematic, some of them. They're the ones that shot at our people in Pimville, Soweto, like last week, Monday. So we need to really look into those things as South Africans. We really need to shut down those borders. We need to put some sort of electric fence around Lesotho as well, and also have the army circulating there. We need to make sure that no one from outside of South Africa can just have free, easy entry into our country. And most importantly, we need to hold the government accountable, and we need to vote the ANC out and put in a government that's really interested in solving this problem, because the ANC doesn't seem to be interested in solving this problem for whatever reason. So we have to find a way of voting them out. And I think another reason the South Africans need to be wary of is that I think what the government is doing is that they're trying to use foreign nationals to vote for them in the future. So that's something that we also need to look into. Thank you.
Oh, okay, thank you so much, Josie Gold. There's some people who have not yet spoken. I have, okay, Bongs, I'm going to open your mic.
Hi, Ziggy.
Hello.
Okay. Hi to all the listeners. You know what? I've been listening to your shows and even previously on your YouTube videos, and I actually wanted to know from all your encounters with South Africans and obviously international people as well as Zimbabwean folk, what is your deduction? I know that your question basically based on this video is what is the solution? I wanted to know from you, with everything that you've been listening to, what do you think is a solution for Zimbabwean folk or the SA side Just quick question. I just want to understand, just brief.
Okay, as the moderator, I would rather leave it to you, my friends, to tell me what you think.
Okay, okay.
But
Um,
definitely, I will give you my own take on this because I think I'm the one who has been following everything and
hmm,
picking up everything that people have been saying. So for now, I just want to listen to you, my friends. What do you think, and what are the possible solutions to the problems that we have?
okay. Well, on my side, let me just give you a brief like background. I'm from the Eastern Cape, right? I lived in the Eastern Cape for some time and I grew up there. And living there, I was not exposed to all this. Now, let's go back to 2008, where I saw on the news that a lot of South Africans were committing crimes against foreign nationals. And I used to look at that and feel like, you know what? These people, no, man, why are we so like xenophobic? This is disgusting. What are these people doing? And fast forward now, when I moved to Johannesburg, where I didn't have a job, I lived in Randburg, Johannesburg, and going to the CBD, I started seeing a lot of foreign nationals who had owned a lot of businesses. I saw foreign nationals who were able to, thrive in the city, whereas I was looking for a job and I couldn't even find it in my own CBD where I was living. And then now to continue with that is that I realized that whatever it is that I was thinking at the time, where I was living at home comfortable, where my parents were feeding me, it was all good. And also in Port Elizabeth at the time, you could, after high school, you could go and work at a shop during your school holidays. That was amazing for me because I was able to then grow and actually learn a lot about being in a workplace and being exposed to the whole like the whole culture of actually working. But when I came to Johannesburg, it was a whole different ball game because I started seeing that the doors were closed for me and I didn't understand why,
Mm,
like otherwise, you know what I mean. But I also came now to a realization. I don't know if I am being xenophobic. I'm not going to say I'm not being xenophobic, but I'm going to say that it dawned on me that no, man, why is it like this over here? And then I started questioning a lot of things that people were feeling at the time when I used to judge them. A lot of South Africans were talking about these things. And I also watched another space. I think it was a space or a YouTube video where all these European people, as well as people who were from Nigeria but living in Canada, people from all these countries living in other places, were talking about how South Africans are. And I realized that I don't know if I sound like these people that hadn't experienced what I've experienced myself, where I used to judge people because I didn't experience anything on the ground. Now, remember, I'm staying in Randburg. My encounters with Zimbabwean people has always been good, but
mm,
I won't say the same thing about Nigerian folk because there's a place in Randburg called um, Little Lake. Well, we call it Little Lagos, but that's where all Nigerians will basically reside and they do their business.
mm,
And when you walk past, you get asked, "Oh, my size. Do you want to have some of this?" Meaning they're selling us things that are not necessarily legal. Everyone knows what that is. That's my exposure. With Zimbabwean folk, I've lived with them. Even a tenant of mine who just is currently moving out because his wife is currently pregnant. He told me that he moved to South Africa. Within a month, he already had a job.
mm,
Remember that I experienced where I stood for like a year looking for a job and I couldn't find one. But this Zimbabwean folk who literally came from Harare, and he told me that he found a job after a month because he knew someone that hooked him up with a job, and that's how he became like basically came to South Africa. That makes me feel, I don't know, I'm not comfortable with that, Sikia. And it's yes,
mm,
you can say that I'm maybe xenophobic for feeling that way, but for someone to just come in through easily and just get a job, and I'm just sitting back and thinking I struggled and I know so many people who are struggling behind me. How does that work? And listening to all these spaces as well as YouTube videos and people bashing South Africa, They're telling us we're stupid, we're not educated, we're not good enough, we don't deserve these jobs. How do you then say to yourself, like, okay, you know what, a solution is to say, let's give our brothers all these things and give them access to things because we understand where they're coming from. But then you go to little Lagos, you see all those Nigerian folks selling drugs. And then you go into your phone, you get an SMS saying, Mr. What, Mr. John, you just want something because it's a scam. And then you also hear about the things are in the townships. I would say mostly in the townships, because that's where all our Zimbabwean folk are carrying out these things. But I haven't been exposed to them, obviously, because I stay in Randburg. So I just want to understand, what is your solution? Hence, I even asked you. It's easy for someone like myself. I can admit that I used to think South Africans are xenophobic. South Africans are so lazy. South Africans are not doing what they need to do, until I came and actually stepped away from my parents' house and I experienced it on the ground. And that's when I realized that actually, you know what? I was just super privileged and I shouldn't have even spoken. So what the heck was I thinking? And now we have someone from America who just went on to this your show and then started speaking about how we sound like apartheid people, like Indonileyo. But otherwise, because he hasn't been exposed, and you should also think, all these people that have been listening to these shows and have to say that South Africans are like they're abnormal and everything, you have to start understanding, like, what are they talking? Why is it that all of them are starting to feel this way? There's obviously a reason behind it, and yeah, it might not be good. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Bongs. I'm going to open for Mkhond.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, hello.
Hello.
You're welcome. Okay, go ahead, please. Your mic is muted. Oh, okay. You are still in there?
Yes. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, Ziki. Thank you, everyone. Okay. I'm actually here for the solution. But before we talk about the solution, we really need to face the reality. And then I think the main problem why there is what we call xenophobic in inverted commas for that is labeling to us as South Africans is because first of all we are ignorant, or we usually focus our, or we get our information from the media. We ignore the people from the ground. That's the reality. That's the main problem. We always ignore the reality. And then another problem, before we talk about the solution, is that the people, the so-called people that came here legally, so Zimbabweans, Nigerian, whoever, they always or every time when these things rise, they always, without even understanding the content, they always in the side of the illegal migrant. And then that's where the problem is, because it makes those people, the ground forces, the people that live within these problems, it makes them feel like they are stupid. The media is the one that is fueling these things. And then if we keep on ignoring these issues, I'm telling you, this so-called xenophobic will never end. And right now, South Africans and so many South Africans are fed up. And the main problem is because there is high unemployment rate in South Africa. And it makes South Africans, because most South Africans, they have got degrees and they are not working. And these illegal immigrants, they are working. And it boils up. And most of South Africans right now, as we speak, they will retaliate. And it will be ugly. And I'm not saying this thing out of anger or anything of that, but that's how I've realized. If you look at people like Puntantla Lax, you can realize that these people are fed up. And some of them, they end up now becoming militant. And it will never be nice. And we don't want to see another Homoto Diale or another Unyati. We don't want to see any other person dying. But we are saying to you guys, before you can talk about the solution, can you please listen and without judging, listen to the people that live in the townships? Because most of us, we live in the town, we live in the so-called suburbs. We live in the gated community. We always ignore the people that live among these people that are illegal, and then that's where the problem is. Let us first understand. In Soweto right now, that's where I'm from originally. In Soweto right now, there's no train. Why? Because the illegal immigrant, not to say South Africans are not also, there are some South Africans that are also involved, but we are telling you the fact that there are Zimbabweans that are stealing cables. In Soweto, most of Soweto right now is dark because of they are no cables. They've stolen cables. The trains are not working there. Number two, we have this thing called we know the Lesotho National, for example. We know that they are doing illegal mining. They call it whatever. These people, we know that Nigerians are selling drugs. We know that Zimbabweans are also, they are busy doing a lot of illegal things, including what you call these things, all those sort of things. I'm talking about illegal. I'm not talking about legally. So because most legal people that came here from other national countries or from other Zimbabweans or whatever, most legal people, they are doing things according to the law because they know that their fingerprints, everything is there. And then every time, whenever people are saying Zimbabweans are doing this, illegal Zimbabweans are doing these things, we always hear someone who will call you and say, no, but no, Zimbabweans have helped you, whatever. That's nonsense. Let us first listen to the people. Let's not ignore people from the ground, because the moment you ignore people from the ground, those people, they right now, internet is no longer a luxury. They can have access of this internet. They have access of this information. And then if you keep on saying that they are stupid because you are elite people or whatever, you keep on ignoring their problems. These people, they will rise. And the day they will rise, there will be a problem. We have got Wuntlandlalas. Now these people start to arm themselves. And then this is not what we want. We cannot talk about the solution before we can raise the problem. And then we have got ignorant or arrogant Zimbabweans, arrogant Nigerians that keep on saying South Africans are xenophobic. How can we become xenophobic if we welcomed you guys? We know in 2008, because we know that in Zimbabwe, 2008, there was hyperinflation. Most of you have lost millions and billions or whatever. We welcomed you. We know the economy in Zimbabwe became a problem there in 2008. There was hyperinflation because they sanctioned your Zimbabwe. But we have got so much people that are ignorant, and then so many people we welcome. If you go to Limpopo, so many villages there welcome most of your Zimbabweans. Whether Shonas, whether whatever. Now you're talking of Africans, we must be Africans or whatever. We know that if we go to Zimbabwe, for example, I lived in Zimbabwe, I know Zimbabwe. I know that there's a problem of Matabele and the Shonas. They are not getting along, and we know the history. We cannot talk of Africanism. We know that we are tribalists ourselves. You cannot entertain this thing of saying we must open borders and listen to people, stupid people like Malim, who thinks that he's smart but is very stupid. Let's first deal with uniting each other from our own countries, because we know that there is a problem. You Zimbabweans, we know that there is a problem of Shonas and Debeles. We can go to each and every country. At least if we're talking of Lesotho, we know that at least there's one language that is Lesotho, that is spoken there. At least those people, in terms of language, they are united. But whenever people please, let's first realize that there is a problem. And then this is, go to Nigeria. I've been to Nigeria myself. I know there's a problem there. And then now you want to open borders. We have seen what is happening there in the northern of North Mozambique. We have seen Boko Haram. We have seen Al Shabaab and all those people in South in all those countries. If you open borders in Zimbabwe, you open borders in South Africa. That problem that is there is still gonna be our problem. If you open borders today, we have Ebola in whatever. That Ebola is gonna be our problem as well here, because there will be a free movement. So that is the problem. I hear stupid people saying that, hey, this borders where hey, it was from Europe, whatever. That's nonsense. It's nonsense. Even if it was from Europe, can we first deal with our own problems because the moment now you start to invite others and all those things, it's a disaster. South Africa itself is still having a problem on its own. The South Africans themselves, they have got the Zulus is having a problem with Xhosas. The Xhosas is having a problem with Vendas and Tongas. The moment now you start to include the Shonas, you include the Ndebeles, and you include all those people, now it's going to be a more disaster. You cannot talk of Pan-African if you are not talking about, let's first deal with our own problems. We know what is happening. We know Mugabe, we know what happened in 2001 in Zimbabwe, when you guys, I mean, when I'm saying you guys, I mean your leaders, when they said, when they allowed, they said, take the land. The land is not even working for you as Zimbabweans. Zeki, now today as we speak, you are in China. I am in UK right now. You are in China. Most Zimbabweans are in wherever, they are scattered all over. Why? Because the land is not working for them. But you keep on saying, Malema, the very stupid Malema is keep on saying land. How is land helping us? If you go to Soweto, that's where I come from, Soweto myself. I'm telling you, Ziki, Soweto is a problem. And then if this thing keeps on, and this thing, the media keeps on fueling these things, it makes people to get more angry. And people will retaliate. And then now we'll talk about guns and all that. And that's not what we want. Look at Bunkantalaks. Now they're arming themselves. And then tomorrow when they kill someone, I'm not saying I'm entertaining, but tomorrow when they kill someone, you will say those people are xenophobic. But these people have been calling over and over and saying we have got a problem of illegal immigrants. And the problem is not really illegal immigrants. Illegal immigrants, when they come to South Africa, they start to do illegal things. They start to be arrogant. They start to do illegal activities. That is where the problem is. Because we understood 2008, when did xenophobic start? It started in 2008. Why? Ask yourself why, Ziggy. It happened because Zimbabwe, 2008, there was hyperinflation. So meaning there was many of you that came to South Africa illegally. So, and then when you came to South Africa, you started to do whatever you wanted to do. I'm not saying you personally. I'm saying the Zimbabweans illegal.
We understand. Yes.
Yes. And that's where the problem is. That's where the problem is, because right now we must listen to the people from the townships. I hear last week, 2 weeks back, I follow you, Zig. I heard last week or 2 weeks back or something, there was this guy from Zimbabwe who was saying they didn't kill, the Zimbabweans, they didn't kill our people in Deep Sloot. We understood that there was a killings before Unyati. And then that killing was caused by a Zimbabwean national. It's a Shewe Limpopo, a Zimbabwean national who confessed. He said he killed 7 South Africans. 7 South Africans. And then you never heard of it on the news. This media is the one that is fueling this problem. Because the media, it keeps on, they want to because you must understand that this media, they've got businesses in Zimbabwe. Thabo Mbeki came to Zimbabwe in 2008 when there was a problem there. Was it 2008, 2009? And he said everything is fine. And he was lying. He said everything is fine. And then that's where the problem is. Because this politician, they've got businesses, they've got businesses and mines in Zimbabwe. They keep on saying Zimbabweans must come to South Africa to cause havoc. When they cause havoc, this thing, especially the people like Malema, because they are winning, they are making billions, and you Zimbabweans and all the other countries of South Africa, you must understand that these politicians are the ones that they don't like us. They are actually dividing us more. Because that's why the problem, if a Zimbabwean is creating, it's causing problems, as Zimbabweans must stand and say, not with our name, we are isolating you because you are doing things that are illegal. If a South African is doing things that are wrong, we as South African, we must say, hey, that person, we are isolating you. But the problem is that when a Zimbabwean person is doing things that are wrong, you will hear Zimbabweans defending that person. When a Nigerian is doing the same, the things that are wrong, we are, and we know it's not a secret that Nigerians are selling drugs. It's not how will you feel if a Nigerian or whoever comes and sell your children drugs? If I use my gun to defend myself, to defend my community, then they call me xenophobic. What nonsense is that? What nonsense is that? You can't do that. You know yourself as Ziki that you can't do illegal things in China because you know that in China, if we do things that are illegal, you are in a problem. You going to regret. I know that in UK where I am right now, if I do things that are illegal, hey, they will arrest me. And not because another problem is your official, the so-called officials who went to when they killed Unyati, of which I understood. But you can't go there. Your son of PF, your whatever, they go there and they start to act smart. They start to say, hey, no, you can't kill our. You must first understand the problem. We know it was not the right thing to do to kill Unyati, but people were angry, and people usually they retaliate. And this thing of saying is Afrophobic because we have a problem of Bangladesh. People from Bangladesh, people from Pakistan, Bangladesh. The last time I remember, it's not Africa. It's in Asia. They also have a tendency of messing up our countries. And then I'm saying these things, Ziki, because I'm saying the media because that is what happened in America. That's what happened in America when people said Black Lives Matter. The people on the media were painting Africans and black Americans or African Americans as if they are stupid. But the day those people start to rise, that will be a problem. You start to name them things. These people are not stupid. These people have got this internet, this access. People from Deep Root right now, some of them, they are listening to you. Some of them are among us in this conversation. And then when someone who is in Harare, for example, or someone who's in Bulawayo today, or in Abuja, or whatever, who doesn't understand the problems of South Africa, the problems of Deep Root, to be specific, or the problem of Soweto, that person calls you and then he starts to name those people like they are stupid. Someone who calls from 4 ways in the gated community, who lives with that security, he calls you and say those people from Tipswood are stupid. You know they have got a problem, those people, because they don't understand the situation that these people are living. These people are, because you are living in a gated community. In a gated community, Ziki, if you go there, you just jump the cage. I'm telling you, the security will murder you. Murder you meaning they will beat you. They'll beat the hell out of you.
Okay,
That's the problem. Thank you, Ziki. Let me
Okay,
give
thank
other
you so much for your contribution.
let me
If we
give
still
other
have
people
time, I'll add you
to.
later on. Right now, I'm going to go back to my sister, the talking Safa. I don't know if they're still in the stream.
I'm here.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. There's another thing that I wanted to just raise in this in when I'm talking about Zimbabweans, I'm talking about family. I've got Muroras, I've got family there. I've got friends there. I went to school with Zimbabweans, so it's very personal to me. So I never, not for a second, want to feel or to think that in any way I am against Zimbabwe or Zimbabweans, right? That's number one. Number two, what I wanted to raise is I always hear this rhetoric whenever people are talking about South Africa and how South Africans are dealing with their issues and how South Africans are feeling about illegal foreigners. And they will always say South Africa belongs to all who live in it. This is beautiful. This is our core value as South Africa. But let's face the facts. Even that becomes an unattainable dream if there is no free movement and trade between the countries. If we are unable to go into each other's places and work freely and trade freely and so on, right? But unfortunately, we cannot move freely and we cannot trade freely if, for example, these countries do not take care of their own internal affairs. So it goes back to our original, my original point, that is, each of these countries must deal with their internal affairs. Now, I don't know about you, Ziki, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. Before you leave Zim to enter South Africa, you produce your papers. So you produce that you have the correct documents to enter the host country. I know this to be true for me because when I left South Africa to go to Thailand, I produced my papers and I produced my visa. I produced everything that I needed in South Africa in OR Tambo first, because I needed to prove in OR Tambo in South Africa that I have the right, or I have been given the right to go to the host country, right? Now,
Yes.
is that true, right? That is true even for you, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So now, I know that this is something that the Zim government can assist South Africans with as well, because for undocumented Zimbabweans to be able to cross into South Africa, it cannot be the burden of South Africa alone to make sure that everybody is documented. So the Zimbabwean government, for example, needs to make sure that they have the correct census of all the people that are crossing their borders into the host country. They need to make sure that they are documented. That's number one. Number two, they need to have a census of all the foreigners or their citizens in their host countries. In the host countries. So Zimbabwean government needs to know how many Zimbabweans are in South Africa, so that it can also account for Zimbabweans in South Africa. Right?
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking. Now, South Africa, right? Obviously, without it goes to show that South Africa needs to also take care of the rot of its own corruption, like our officials that are looking after our borders and our home affairs, and make sure that we have the correct systems in place to track and trace documentations of foreigners and citizens alike. because you will find that in South Africa, there are citizens of South Africa that don't have documentation, for example, that don't have an ID, right? And how they don't attain IDs, I have no idea. That needs to be taken care of as well. So now, between these two countries, we have our internal struggles that we need to sort them out. And we cannot say, oh, we blame so and so for our problems. Just like I don't like it when Zimbabweans would always quote South Africa. South Africa should, South Africa should, South Africa should. No, it also means that what can Zimbabwean government do to help South Africa in terms of dealing with its own citizens? Right? Because the way that I see it, I don't think that Zimbabwean government knows how many Zimbabweans are in South Africa if they cross the border illegally. So now when an issue like, let's say Elvis Nyati, or an issue like a Zimbabwean national gets harmed in South Africa, that's the only time that we'll be able to hear from the Zimbabwean government, and they still won't be able to give full information or full account over what has transpired. Right? That's another thing. Now, in the issue about border control, it is a very important issue, but going back to my original argument, take care of your internal affairs, because border control alone will not be able to resolve the issue of illegal migrants, because it is not the only thing that is causing the influx of illegal migrants. And I want to close with this. In 2020, Umamuye von Chaka Chaka was, I'm going to say kicked out. The news says she was not kicked out, but she left Ghana, right, before performing for a New Year's Eve concert in 2020, right, due to incorrect visa, right?
True.
What I'm trying to say, she had to cancel her performance that people have booked and people have paid for, and they wanted to see her, but she couldn't go through with her performance because the Ghanaian government decided that Mamuye von Chaka Chaka, you do not have the correct papers to be here, therefore you need to go back to your country and sort out those papers.
True.
Right? Now, she could have said, oh, Ghana belongs to all who live in it. It's Africa. It's my home. It's my land. But she understood, as well as all South Africans, because I don't remember not one South African took up arms and said that was unfair. It shouldn't have happened, because everybody understands that Ghana is a sovereign country. It has its own laws. And as a guest in that country, you abide by those rules. Simple and straightforward. That's it for me.
Wow. Thank you so much. Okay. Let me open for Shingi.
Hi, Zeki. I was just listening to the lady saying, was it not Uganda? Was it not Uganda where Mamuye von Chaka Chaka had to be, cancelled? I don't know, something which was some visa issue, because I do follow her on Instagram. I think it was Uganda. I don't think it was
Ghana. I don't know if my memory serves me well, but I think it was Ghana, but I could be corrected with this one.
I'm not, but as far as I remember, it was East Africa, because that is where this other political activist, who's a singer, called Bobby Wine. Bobby Wine is not from Ghana. Is he not from Uganda? So
okay, I'm looking it up. I'm looking it up right now. I'm sorry, it is Uganda.
It is Uganda, yes. You see, I'm right.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Her on Instagram. I follow Mamuye von Chaka Chaka, so I knew it was Uganda because she's quite affiliated with Bobby Wine. I've been listening. It has been quite a very long program, and there's so many people that have given their own contributions. And I do understand, I share some of the sentiments which Mukonto was discussing with regards to some of the South Africans who are really educated and they are qualified and they cannot find employment and they cannot find work. That on its own, yeah, it is a reality on the ground. And because I know I've got cousins who went to technicons, and some of them have gone to universities and they've completed their qualifications, and some of them until now they are not employed. You know, and sometimes that can bring a lot of resentment and it can bring a lot of hatred, especially when they see people that are coming from other foreign parts of the world and they come into the country, and all of a sudden they get a job or they get employment. So that can create a lot of envy and jealousy. Like going back forward, at the end of the day, we were doing some private chats as well with Raz on the other side, where he was like trying to explain to me that I should admit that Zimbabwe is in a crisis. As far as I know, I don't think Zimbabwe is in a crisis, but in Zimbabwe, it is a political situation that has been an ongoing one, which has been going on and on and on and on. The reason why I keep saying it's a political situation is because of everything that is happening there. It's more political other than anything else. So it's not for the people of Zimbabwe that it's not like they are not making anything, you know, they are not people who are not trying to make changes. They are not people who are not trying to do something about it, or people are just sitting idly and they're saying everything that is happening there is okay. But people, you know, are not resolving to, because Iran was saying, oh, people should be violent, or people should rise and turn against the government or fight and burn streets and things like that. You know, already Zimbabwe is already been shattered already because of the economical situations. So people are just using their own brains, because if they start to destroy the furniture that they have, the buildings that they have, how is that going to help them? You know, because war is not going to help anything other than that. It will destroy all the infrastructure and everything that is there. So at the end of the day, I am listening, ZK, and this issue of illegal migration, as far as it concerns, I don't think is going to stop until things are resolved in Zimbabwe. If Zimbabwe becomes, you know, a normal state where, you know, its economy is functioning well, they've got their own middle class like before, and the industry is functioning well, then hence they will not be seeing all these economical migrants trying to cross the border coming to South Africa. And most of them, I think they do like to cross with legal documents. But like I say, Zimbabwe is a very massive country. Not everybody is in the same status or in the same class. Not everyone, because some they come from dire poverty in rural areas and even in some of the townships, which they might be struggling. So all they can do is just to cross the border and enter into South Africa illegally, which is not good. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, but it's just that to them, it's like a survival of the fittest. They're just trying to find a way to survive. And I don't think only Zimbabweans are crossing to South Africa. This Zimbabwe issue is affecting SADC, and it's affecting Zambia, it's affecting all the surrounding countries that surround Zimbabwe. That's why I was saying it's an African issue. It's not just something that, you know, a man walking down the street can just look into it and just say, oh, we need to address it in a way. It is a problem that has been an ongoing issue. It's an ongoing problem and it needs to be addressed. But how does it get to be addressed? In a diplomatic way. And so there are so many ways that things can be addressed. But violence, I am condoning violence. I am condoning people that wants to kill other people, you know, taking law into their own hands. I think that is not right. Where we live here in the UK, like I said, there are people who are anti-immigrants. There are parties who are anti-foreigners. You know, there are parties who are like that, but you don't just walk into the street and someone will hold a gun on you or want to shoot you. That will never happen, you know, but people are allowed in a democratic country to express their views and their opinions, and it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So that is my own saying, ZK, and thank you very much for offering me the platform.
Thank you, Shingi. I wanted to ask you,
Hey,
which country are
ZK.
you in? Shingi?
Yes, I'm listening. I think Raj is. Yeah.
Where are you?
I'm in the United Kingdom.
Okay, I want to give you a question.
Yes.
How do they deal with illegal immigrants in the UK?
Yes, in the UK, if you are an illegal immigrant and you are caught, obviously, they will take you to a detention center, which is like a removal center. But if you are in that removal center, they give you an option, of maybe seeking legal advice, which they might give you a lawyer, which is from the government, if you can't afford one. And from that, at the end of the day, that's where some other people might seek what is called asylum. And it will be on the basis on how you are seeking asylum, to what grounds. And that country that you are seeking asylum, is it a country that is regarded that it falls under, the effects of human rights and things like that. So like, for instance, it can be a struggle for someone who is from South Africa to, just to start to say they are seeking asylum. You understand? Because they know South Africa is regarded as a country that upholds human rights and, people, live, walk, safely. There's freedom of speech and things like that. So there's so many things that they do consider. So, but obviously, if you are taken into a detention center, you will be waiting for removal to, if they process your documentation, to take you back to your own country of origin. So yeah, I think in South Africa, they've got what is called Lindela, but I don't know if they're still doing it, taking people to Lindela and, deport them. But obviously, if they deport them, they still come back again because they've come undocumented. So they go back there and then they come back again. So it will be a back forth and, it's just going to be like that. So, so some of the sentiments which the South Africans are saying, I do understand because I've lived there, ZK. And I know some of my cousins were not going to work, and not because they were uneducated, but they were educated. And they, like one of my, cousin sisters, she went to a technical in KwaZulu-Natal, and she completed and she, with high grades and everything, but she couldn't get a job. She ended up being catering, like trying to cook for people, in funerals and things like that. But she was quite highly educated, but she was somebody who could not, get a job. So I do understand some of those things, and it creates a lot of, hatred and resentment. So, even my grandmother, like I said, she used to tell me, she used to speak to me, in my own, in a Zulu language, and tell me that, oh, you see, these people, they are going to rise against your people. She used to, a long time ago, I think in 2006, it's a long time ago. So, my grandma foresee all what is happening today, because she was saying one day there's going to be an uprising. And I know it's not in the best interest for everyone, but there is an uprising now. And I know the internet as well is kind of fueling as well. So, but we thank you, ZK, because yours is quite positive. It's giving people platform to talk and air out their views.
Okay. Thank you, Brother Shingi. I'm going to open the mic for Raz right now, but Brother Shingi, I'm going to remove you from the stream so that I add someone else. Go ahead, Raz.
Can I just add something quickly on the part about Lindela? The part where Shingi mentioned Lindela.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, in 2014, I was volunteering over there. They still do have facilities like that. But what we've seen there is a huge number of undocumented foreigners that are on that side, and they don't even have the proper documentation to go into their countries. So you'll find that they are stuck in that facility because their own governments do not recognize them as citizens of their own. So that's the problem that Lindela was facing. But obviously, some were able to be deported back into their own countries, but some are stuck there.
Wow. I think this one we should keep it like that. It's actually a very big topic that we might even have to look at. Okay, so Shingi, I'm going to take you out. Raz, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, ZK. ZK, I've come to the realization that the unity of Africa at this stage would be disastrous. The time for us South Africans. Hello?
Yeah, I'm muting people's mics.
Yes, and the time for us South Africans to come to the reality that we cannot progress while we have other African countries on our backs. And for us to progress, it's not going to work. Recently, Moeletsi Mbeki, right? The brother of the former South African President Thabo Mbeki made revelations against the Frelimo government of Mozambique that they were systematically selling heroin onto South African shores. And these people are our so-called neighbors, right? This is Mozambique, right? Let's take another example of North Africans, for instance. North Africans do not consider themselves to be African. They see themselves as Middle Eastern. And you can see by the way that they look, by their culture, by their religion, they do act as Middle Eastern, but yet they don't see themselves as Africans, even if they are located on the African continent. Nigerians were evicted from Libya. In fact, there are many stories of dark-skinned Africans held as slaves in Libya, right? Look at countries like Cameroon, countries like Equatorial Guinea, where the presidents have been in power for more than 30, 35 years in power without being opposed. And it's actually not that they weren't opposed, it's just that the way that they elect, their ballots aren't secret, meaning that anyone can see who you're voting for, right? So obviously there's a fault, right? Look at countries like Chad, Mali, countries that are in constant state of war. Look at the Horn of Africa, countries, Horn of Africa is on the eastern, Patrick?
No, wait, let me mute him.
Yes, Horn of Africa is on the upper eastern section of Africa, upper eastern, just right above Kenya, right? And Horn of Africa comprises of Eritrea, Somalia, Djibouti, Sudan. These countries are in a constant state of war. So how can we unite with these countries if they are struggling to contain the war and the contradictions that happen in their country? So my solution is that as South Africans, we should accept things for what they are. We should stop allowing these people to sell us the dream of Africa, and we should stop allowing people to tell us that we are African and Pan-Africanism, and we as Africa are people from this continent, and we should stop that. We should stop. We South Africans should align with countries that are prospering like us, like Botswana, like Namibia, and look to other partners outside of the continent where we can benefit the citizens of our people and create jobs and create opportunities and make our countries successful. We are tired of Zimbabweans. We are tired of Nigerians selling drugs and running prostitution rings onto our country. And us being labeled as xenophobic. It's wrong. Somebody has to say it. You understand?
Okay.
Somebody has to say it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to open the mic for, is it Claude? I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Yes. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, thank you. Listen, thank you so much, Ziki. It has been 3 weeks. I don't know what was happening with my settings, but I couldn't log in using your link. Okay, thank you so much. I need to just mention a few things, people. I'm a South African. And without going into more details, I have a bit of a problem with the whole attitude towards the problems that are happening in South Africa. Wherever you speak, we are told education. There's absolutely nothing like that. There is no skill shortage in SA. There is no skill shortage. And we need to go back to the core of what the issue is. We have a country that at the bottom of it, the older generation were only able to get Bantu education. But in as far as the past 28 years is concerned,
what's happening to the mic?
Sorry. Is there something wrong with the mic?
No, go ahead.
Okay. In as far as the past 28, if we were to go back to 1994 up to 2002, There is a lot of graduates. I, as a matter of fact, went as far as my master's qualifications, and those that come after me have got your honors degree and all sorts of things. The question is this: where are these people supposed to work? Where are they? Because at the end of the day, I've worked with all. I've worked with doctors from Nigeria. I've worked with Zimbabweans. I've been lucky in that I started working at the age of 18, right? So I was able to actually understand and work with different people coming from different parts of Africa. The question is this: if we are talking about informal, my argument has always been at the informal level, those positions or jobs must be exclusively for South Africans who never got the benefit of what democracy is. These are people who were able to obtain Bantu education, if any. There is no way, there is no country that can accommodate people at informal level at the rate that South African is able to. And it's impossible. And the other thing is this: squatter camps were never meant to be a place of residence, people. Everyone who's in a squatter camp, and mostly they're in urban areas, they're in those areas in order to seek employment. So a foreigner, and I'm not even going to talk illegality or legality of documents here. You are a foreigner, you come into a country and you go to a place and you live in a place like that, a squatter camp. People where most situations, you'll find that 95% of them are unemployed. And what are you expecting? I've never seen the professionals, and I'm talking about your medical doctors, your people in finance, your IT, foreigners. They who are crying the same as those that are living in squatter camps. So you can even tell this is more of the environment. But a foreigner who actually comes in South Africa with qualifications legally, they've never really had issues with this thing. So at the end of it, I really, really doubt. And I mean, I've had this conversation with family and friends. There is no xenophobia, people. It's resources, resources, resources. So the other aspect of it is this. The question is this. Right now, I've just basically I decided to buy a meal at Ocean Basket. And I will tell you what is happening at Ocean Basket. None of the employees get salaries.
Wow.
None of the employees get salaries. They are all Zimbabweans. The nonsense. You see what I mean? The nonsense. None of them. They are there working for tips.
Yes.
And you call that, and you think that is what is called employment. That is not employment.
Wow.
We can do better, Africans. We can do better. This is not the South Africa we want. We can do much better. You cannot be on your feet 12 hours at Ocean Basket for nothing. That's not.
Wow. Yeah, this is something else, eh? You are still there, or is there anyone who wants to respond to? I think I need to open. Patrick has been there for a long time. Go ahead, Patrick. Patrick, unmute, please.
Okay, hello, how are you doing, Ziki?
I'm fine. Thank you for joining us. Please go ahead.
Thank you for accepting me. Hey, Ziki, you know this issue, it's very much serious. It's very much serious in a way that, the way that now it has escalated, it has escalated in a way that's it's difficult for anyone, to prevent it, because the way people have been asking the government to try and resolve this issue, it has took so long for the government to respond, and I'm not even sure if he's willing to respond to this situation or not, because now the way that the people are taking the matter to their own hands, it's very much scary. It's very much scary. For me as someone who's living in a township, I've been seeing so much of things happening. Things that are similar to this issue that you are talking about. I've been seeing foreigners that are doing bad things. Selling drugs and stuff. Also doing bad things to the communities, and I've also seen like foreigners that are involved in a all these kind of things that we are against, human trafficking. But then for me, it's hard for me to blame the people of my community when they try to take the matter into their hands, because the people have been reporting to the government to try and deal with these kind of issues, but the government, he keeps on trying to promising the people that the matter will be resolved, but yet up until now, this kind of matters hasn't been resolved. So for me to see such things happening to my fellow Africans, it's really painful. It's really painful because I do understand the struggle that these people have been dealing with. Coming from their countries. The struggle that they are facing in the countries is very much difficult. Yes, I do know, and I do understand, and I do hope that the best one day will come. The one day resolve these issues that are facing in the countries. But now, for us, to also we are dealing with this situation where there are many of us who are unemployed. Yes, there are many foreigners in these countries who have been employed, and for the government, to allow such things to happen, it's a pity. It's a pity because now it seems like our government is putting the foreigners, before us, as the as the people of this country, uh, and now you see such things will keep on carrying on. We'll be seeing more and more of our people, killing foreigners and doing bad things to them. Tell the truth, for me, Ziki, for me, I recently quitted my job. Quitted my job, and the reason to that, it was because where I was working, they recently hired more foreigners, and they said, why? The reason they're hiring more foreigners because foreigners, they're not like us South Africans, because us, we want, we want to slum some wages, while the foreigners, they do not want, they do not want lump sum wages. They just want to work. But then you ask yourself, me, I'm not a foreigner. I was born and raised here, and yeah, we know that the expenses here are very very high, So now for me to allow 2.5 per month, how am I gonna overcome my ends meet? That's very difficult. But then seeing those foreigner guys accepting such a low wages, that's really breaks my heart. That's really breaks my heart now to see these guys. How can you accept such wage? 2.5, 2.5. What are you gonna do with that? But then again, for me, the reason I recently quit my job is because what, I didn't wanna keep on fighting with my fellow African brothers, foreigners, So I thought to myself, because I'm seeing that okay, I cannot win this battle on my own, because now it seems like there are more foreigners than I. So I recently decided, let me just quit this job, because either way, I'm not gonna win. I'm not gonna win. So this thing that you are dealing with is very much painful. It's very painful. But then I'm putting this blame to our government. I'm putting this blame to our government, because the reason these whole things are happening is because the government, he's the one who's allowing these things to happen because at politics, how the politics like. Okay, I'm not involved in the politics. I don't want to involve myself to the politics because the things that is happening there, I really don't understand how things are being dealt with there. But then again, these things are very much painful. It's very much painful. For me, I do wish one day to also, go abroad, to also go to other countries, and experience life, and experience life, so that you know. But then, as I do very much understand that if I'm going to other countries, I cannot just go to other countries just because I'm saying, it's my country. My country is in my country, there is one and two that I don't like, while I'm going to the country, and then I'm like, uh, I'm not bringing a proper documentation like it's happening right now. Foreigners are not coming with a proper documentation. They just flowing into our country, without any documentation, and all these things that's the government requires, But for me, to go to other countries, I'm very much aware that I have to be proper. I have to be proper. I have to bring all the requirements that have been needed into that country. So that I will not live as as an illegal immigrant. You see. So I just think it's very much painful. It's very much painful because seeing Africans, Africans fighting that is really painful because we know that in other countries, we as black people, they don't like us. Speaking about other races, we know that they don't like us. Of which I'm not sure why they don't like us, but I don't think it's just about the color of our skin. But we know that in other countries they don't like us. So now it's the best time for us as Africans to unite, and try to come up with a better solution to how we can build up our own continent, so that the young generation to come, they will experience a better life than us. But us now, like, fighting one another like this is very much painful. It's very much painful because I'm not sure where does the future of Africa lies right now? Where does the future of Africa lies right now? So yes, I do hope that we'll find a better solution. We'll find a better solution, and I do pray and hope that my fellow Africans, from in their country, whatever situation that they're dealing with, I do pray that God do answer the prayers, and that they do also sort out their own issues there in the country, so that they'll also live a good life. Because here, even here in South Africa, we're not living a good life here. There's so much that we are dealing with, that we wish that we could overcome, but it's difficult for us to overcome because there's so much of shortages.
Okay, thank
So
you, brother. But you had finished,
mm,
right? Okay,
yeah,
if you have got something more to say, you can just hold on a little bit. I need to open
okay,
mic. He has been holding on for a long time.
okay,
Is
cool.
it Mia? Am I what?
Oh, yeah, I've been holding on for a while now.
Hi.
Hello, please go ahead. You're welcome.
Uh, am I speaking to Ziki? Ziki,
Yes, please.
is it the right name? Okay. I was like saying I don't really focus on the whole thing of illegal immigration per se because I don't think that is the issue. I think it's more about policy.
Okay.
If you look at the history of South Africa, even during apartheid days, they used to use cheap labor.
Yes, we are
And
following.
it was because of cheap labor they wanted to use even the whole mine thing until the Maragana thing strike. They were brought in. They used foreigners for it's a history of the country. So yeah, that was the thing that like used to
You are cutting off,
succeed.
so we are failing to.
Oh yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, so they used to say that the mining sector is succeeding because of foreign labor and things like that. But this thing, it was because of cheap labor. And when you have a foreign policy that is so bad, not their own policies that they have to like protect the so-called economy. The one thing that I can tell you, for example, when you buy a car, you know, the SA government forces you to buy a car here. You can't buy it. You can't buy a car outside. So if the government actually believed in their in a thing of just making it a free market, they would allow South Africa to buy cars from, you know, other countries, since they're like actually cheaper than to buy it here. Even protect local businesses by like stopping foreign businesses from selling vegetables to the country, because they know that their prices are lower than the. You see, like it's a I'm the one that can't analyze common, like common supply and demand sort of understanding of things, because this is like common knowledge. And then even the fact where people say that people from outside work harder, and you that is actually normal. I would be shocked if like people from outside didn't work harder than like local people. That would actually shock me if like someone came from outside and didn't work harder than a South African. It would actually shock me. These things actually make sense. So I'm like saying that we have a bad a policy, because if you look at even countries like Switzerland have the same, actually even worse policies in terms of employment. They don't even allow anyone to actually come there and go work. They like first you consider people from the what do you call it, the United what do you call it, what do you call it, the Europe. I forgot the term they call each other there. So I'm just saying that this is a bad policy in terms of the government, because the idea of having businesses, having someone open a business in a country that like doesn't employ anyone, uh, in like South Africa, I think it is a poor foreign policy. It doesn't make sense, because just because the government actually makes money from it doesn't mean that it like actually helps the people that are there. So that is my point, mainly about the whole thing, that if people need to express. Um, Someone says yes. Where to find cheap cars? You can actually search online. There are so many cars um, that are in like Devon that have been stopped from being registered
Okay,
because they were bought
sorry. Uh,
outside.
okay. Can you, if you have got more points, just hold on a little bit. There are some people who want to leave the studio, but they have been there for a long time. Tepo.
Yes, hello once again. Okay, so I have two things to say, or yeah, more or less two things to say. I've heard some people on the panel saying that the people who've been here for a long time or something like that ought to be given amnesty. And I wholeheartedly disagree with that particular idea. I would like to put a scenario or a hypothetical to the panel, right? Imagine that you are a driver and your driver license expires, and now you are like maybe 2 months overdue. You should have renewed your driver's license 2 months ago, but you still decided to go out and drive on the roads. Né? And now the traffic officer stops you and says, "Hey, chief, where's your documentation?" You cannot tell the traffic officer that, you know what, I was at Home Affairs and the lines are long and it's so difficult to renew my license, blah 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 blah. No, whatever reason or excuse you might have for trying to get yourself out of that particular situation, the traffic officer is still within his or her own rights to fine or jail you or punish you accordingly. It's that simple. Now, the reason I am talking about this is I hear people all the time talking about how, oh, it's so difficult to get documents to come into South Africa. That's why we come here illegally. No, just because you find it difficult doesn't mean you should proceed to break the law. We South Africans are forced to go to Home Affairs and sort out our issues accordingly, regardless of whether or not Home Affairs is incompetent, regardless of whether or not they are slow. We are still in the lines, waking up at 4 a.m. and we are there by Home Affairs at 5 a.m. to make sure that hopefully today my issues will be sorted. So all these excuses about how, these people are finding it so difficult to get documentation, blah, 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 blah. That doesn't work. Sort it out. That's all I have to say, because the rest of us are forced to also sort it out. Now, there's also an issue with, I had a lot of people talking about the media. And, this is about solutions, as you said. And I wanted to raise a few points. I want to make a few things clear, specifically to South Africans. The government is not your friend. In fact, they are your enemy. The media is definitely not your friend in this whole immigration situation at all. And lastly, something that a lot of people don't seem to notice is the private sector is your biggest enemy in all of this. Because think about it. You are a private business. What's your incentive? To make as much money as you possibly can. How can you do that? Well, you just hire cheap labor. However, that presents a problem because you have two types of people. You have a South African or an immigrant that is here legally. Those people have rights. And then you have an immigrant who is not here legally. The South African knows their rights and they will enforce their rights accordingly. If they are not supposed to be working on weekends, they don't work. If they are not supposed to be working on holidays, they don't work. They demand to be compensated for their labor accordingly. Okay? So, cheap labor is the main objective of the private sector. I need a lot of people to understand this. We have regulations for a reason. South Africa is a capitalist economy. If people don't understand what capitalism means, it means if there weren't any regulations, private companies like Abo MTN and all these other companies, if they could, they would enforce slavery on everyone else. But what's stopping them is regulations. Okay? Now,
yes,
I am a telecommunications engineer / technician, whatever you want to call it. Né? And at the moment, I am what you would classify as the youth, right? From 16 up until 24. Right now, as you speak, I'm 24 years old. And I come from the Free State, a town called Botswana. I moved to Gauteng about 4 years ago. And fortunately, I was able to get a job straight out of varsity. Yeah? Now, there was a lady over here, I don't remember her name, but she alluded to the fact that she's from the Eastern Cape. And when she saw all these issues of foreigners versus South Africans and so forth, she thought to herself, hey, what's going on here? Or, this is bad, blah, blah, blah. Until she moved to the CBD and she started to experience it herself. I have gone through the exact same process. Until very recently, I was jobless. Until very recently. For a whole year, I went to training camps. For a whole year, I sent out my CVs and so forth. And see, the thing is, before you can work, by law, it is required, especially in the telecoms industry, it's required that that company you're working for, whether it's MTN or whatever other subcontractor company, they must take you for training. In those training courses, I met so many people who are not of South African origin. So many people. And I suddenly found myself thinking, Heban, how am I competing against so many people for jobs that are supposed to be reserved for South Africans? That's the question. I have to. I need to ask this to the people who are talking about amnesty. I need to ask this to the people who are talking about how understand that they are coming from very difficult economic realities and so forth. You are not supposed to cross the border to sell fruits. I'm sorry. I don't care how hard the situation is in your country. You are not supposed to cross the border only to sell fruits. Because once you think about it, the situation goes like this. Someone who sells fruits contributes very little to the economy. For a person who uses our education system, someone who uses our health system, someone who uses our electricity and so forth, all of those things are high cost. And when we ask you, okay, what exactly is it that you are doing to give back to the economy? You're selling fruits, something that doesn't even pay tax.
Tsepo. So you Tsepo, I'm going to ask you your solution to any of some of those problems that you have mentioned.
Yeah, my solution. The number one solution is to vote out the ANC. That's the first solution. And I will be the first person on the front lines to say that, to an extent, South Africans have inflicted this whole pandemic of illegal immigration onto themselves. We have an electorate, a populace of people that keeps in voting their own abusers. It makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. That's the first thing. The second thing is we must amend our own labor laws. Apparently, there aren't any job quotas in this country. Now, granted, the South African government is taking steps in order to rectify those particular realities, because the last time I checked, there was a bill that's going to be introduced into Parliament to say that there should be a certain quota that must be met of South Africans and foreigners, right? So, unless the people vote out the current government, nothing is going to change. That's the first thing. Nothing is going to change. Now, once we vote in this new government, we have to make sure that they hold the private sector accountable. It's very important. A lot of people make the mistake of thinking that private businesses are there to take care of them and create employment in the community. No, these people are only interested in making money. Whether they make money using South Africans or foreigners is irrelevant. The question is, what's the cost of using South Africans versus the cost of using illegal immigrants? That's the question. And unfortunately, illegal immigrants win all the time. All the time. There was a case in the Western Cape, in a place called, anyone please correct me if I'm wrong, Robertson, where there were Lesotho nationals, which, by the way, I'm Sotho, funny enough, but that's irrelevant because if you are not here legally, you still be deported. I don't really care, right? Lesotho nationals were fighting Zimbabwean nationals for jobs that should be reserved for the locals of Robertson. They went to that particular farm, one of the farms, right? The government went to one of the farms and they interviewed a manager. And that lady spoke very blatantly, as if she's not ashamed. She came out and said, yeah, I prefer to hire foreign nationals because these people don't complain about working overtime. These people don't complain about working on weekends. These people don't complain about working on public holidays and so forth. And if we pay them whatever wage we want to pay them, they are happy, they go home, they come back. Some of them even reside on the farm itself so as to be super, super early and never miss a day of work. Now, if anyone doesn't understand what I just said, translation, what you were saying is basic. We want people we can exploit. If we cannot exploit you as the private sector, you, my friend, are not suitable for what we are trying to achieve, which is our profit motive. It's that simple. It's not complicated. Now, I would like to voice another issue, okay? And this is the whole, we are all Africans, no African is illegal on African land, blah, 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 blah. Guys, we have borders. Whether or not it's enforced, those borders were enforced by the white man and so forth. Mind you, I have my issues with the white man. I have my big issues with the white man, right? Because as it stands, a very small portion of the South African economy is actually owned by the locals. However, that being said, these are our borders, regardless of who drew them. I don't care. The point is, we have South Africa as it is right now, and we have to work with what we have. So this whole business of, oh, Pan-Africanism, blah, 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 open borders and so forth, it's not going to work. Because if you have a brain, you'll be smart enough to realize that you can't just open borders, because everyone, and I mean everyone, is going to flock to South Africa. Everyone is going to flock to South Africa. The problem we're seeing right now of the labor market, in my profession, we used to get paid, we used to get compensated accordingly, according to our skills. But now, because there is a very large number of people coming from other countries and saturating the market, that means that the wages go down. By definition, the wages go down, meaning that someone like me, who should have been earning at least like maybe 18, 20,000 a month, I now earn 10. On top of that, there's some guy coming from another country. He comes here and he basically goes, yeah, you know what, boss, this guy, he basically knows he has rights and he demands to be compensated accordingly, according to our constitution. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, no, just give me 6,000 instead of 10,000. How are you supposed to compete with something like that? That's my question. How are you supposed to compete with people who are willingly coming here to be slaves? That's the question. And when I talk about the media, when I talk about the people, because South Africa has two realities. People don't realize this. The middle class in South Africa is almost non-existent now because of COVID. But there are people who have money and they are rich. They live in their own gated communities. It's nice. And then there's people who live kokasi in the townships. The realities that these people live are very, very different. There's a reason why the people in the media call everyone in the township who complains about immigration and so forth, they call them xenophobic. The reason they call them xenophobic is simple. None of these people are coming into your own gated communities and competing for jobs. None of them. However, what happens is that those people come here and they end up in the township. They can't go anywhere else. Where can they go? They end up in the township. Right here where I live, in Cosmo City. Just a few houses away, there's an extension called Extension 6. They steal electricity. A lot of those people are illegal. A lot of them. So for someone like me, am I supposed to welcome a group of people who have come here for the explicit purpose of competing for my own livelihood? That's what I want to know. Am I supposed to accept people who come here to compete for resources with someone like me who is barely managing to make ends meet as it is? Because I'm young. And because I'm young, the job opportunities for South Africans, especially those who are young, are very few. Mainly because we don't have experience for the vast majority of us. We don't have experience. So whatever job we can get on a farm, in the hospitality industry or whatever, that goes a long way. Whether you're talking about starting your credit, improving your credit record or whatever for future purposes, whether we're talking about gaining experience, whatever reason, it goes a long way, which is why I keep saying that a lot of these people are coming here and they're taking the jobs that are supposed to be reserved for especially young South Africans who have no experience and are looking for a place to start in the workforce. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Will. Thank you. Right now, I'm going to give Z Lloyd. And then after Lloyd, we're going to have a Nobizwe. Lloyd, you're welcome.
Hello, Ziki. How are you this week?
I'm fine. Thank you for joining us.
Wonderful. So I just want to speak on something that had happened I don't know if it was last year with Bushiri, and I was already in Thailand when that happened. And I just remember sitting there thinking, hey, this man, he escaped justice in South Africa and he ran back to his home country. And I remember how the Malawian, not all of them, but the ones on the internet who are saying he is a legend, he is all of these things, and they were praising this man for having fled South Africa by I don't know what the word or the terminology is for someone who flees South Africa in the manner that he did, which was illegal. Now we're talking about someone who ran away illegally in South Africa. This person was acclaimed a hero in his home city. And some articles even wrote that tourism in his home city is up to 10,000 South African people that go there that are recorded. 10,000 South Africans that visit his home city, as well as other people from other parts of the world because of this man. And it's interesting to know that this man did something illegal in South Africa. The economic freedom fighters in his country applauded him and they said, well done. I don't know if they have any affiliation with EFF. I'm not sure. I'm not going to tie the knots with that. But the article said those people applauded him and therefore the government should not let him go. Or the government should let him go and he did nothing wrong in their eyes. The state, on the other hand, has a lecturer in on that part of the world who said our country is missing the point by allowing a small fish in this giant ocean to close the door on opportunities for Malawans. And this is a lecturer who said that because he understood the benefit of a whole nation that will be able to benefit with trade with one country, then this one person who has been deemed a criminal for fleeing the way he did in our country, who has reached the African dream, if I was to call it that. Because Africa is an economic place right now. It is not what it was in the past or whatever it is. Right now, people need to understand capitalism. And I just want to tie the knots as to say, another story is, and just bear with me for a moment. The former president of Botswana, I just found out today that he fled to South Africa. And the current president in that country accuses him for whatever illegal reasons. Now, this is being fought out in court. Now, I love the justice system in South Africa because I believe it's very fair. And should that man be found illegal or whatever he did in his country, he must be extradited because clearly South Africa, we are held to a higher level or higher standard of moral responsibility than other nations, right? So I say, okay, if our court systems, our justice systems find that he is guilty, he should be sent back to his nation so that they can deal with him accordingly to their laws in Botswana. Not a problem. Another thing that I want to tie in to these two things. Here we have a small fish. On the other hand, we have a big fish. He's a former president. This guy has been accused of money laundering by his nation and all of these things. And in his rebuttal back to, in the media, you can go look this up on the news. When I was watching this, and I was so intrigued because I know everything is about money when these big guys are talking. And his response was to the current president of Botswana. He says the current president of Botswana is accusing the banking system of South Africa of money laundering. Now, that is a gigantic accusation. That is gigantic. This guy just shifted the cornerstones of the world as we know it in the finance industry, right? If you remember in the past, South Africa was reduced to junk status. This is big boy stuff. And I just want to tie into to understand how these small things literally impact big things and vice versa. Now I'm saying this. The banking industry of South Africa and a lot of young people need to understand that your bank is there to help you. Go to your banks. They want to give you money. They've got money. They don't get paid if they don't release the money. People don't understand that. Go to the banks. Ask them, how can you get the money? And don't ask them the common questions that, or don't accept the common answers that they give, that you have to have bank statement and all of those other things. There are other ways for you to get money out of the banks. Now, I just want to say, the important thing to note is which side of this argument is going to be won. And I need us all to pay attention to this because What the man who fled to South Africa did, what this former president did, he just put a bigger argument at the table as to say, who is going to be more protected, me or you, in the nation where you are. South Africa is the safest place in Africa for anyone to be. And all these other people know it, big and small. And people need to understand that all we are asking for is for them to come and respect our laws. That is it. Furthermore,
Thank you.
just one more point.
Yeah, you can
What
make it quick
happened
so
with,
that I add other people and then we round up.
wonderful. What happened with Danel, if you don't know what Danel is the military, they manufacture weapons for South Africa and they sell weapons to nations and other places all around the world where these things need to be distributed. Someone in that organization sold the intelligence of our country to the Saudi government. We're talking about intellectual property, and this was stolen from Danel. Danel has been in the media some time last year. Not a lot of us ordinary people pay attention to this because we don't understand this type of conversations, and we don't understand how much money is involved in military contact. That is the big story. The small story is the South Africans that go to Australia. Now, not all of them. It's one particular white South African, right? My point is this. I love my country. I love South Africa. I love our people, and I respect our laws very much. What I'm saying is, as a black South African, I know wherever I go in this world, I have to come home because not only home is where the heart is, I know that I'm not 100% in these other places. White people, they are camouflaged. They can blend in wherever they go. We don't share the same privileges. That's why when white people leave South Africa, they can talk badly about our nation. And not all white people do this. But pay attention to the ones that do on YouTube. They can speak so badly about our place. And you'll find that you are so nosy. It's so nauseous, like your stomach turns the way these people can talk about our nation. Because they can go and live wherever they want. And we know that we have to go home at some point in time. Our time in these places are limited. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. There's someone who has been there for a long time. I think it's
Yeah, it's
Maurice.
me. Yes. Just to end my contribution, I want to say to Tsepo. I heard Tsepo saying on elections he's gonna vote ANC out. Then there is a challenge in Africa, Tsepo. There is a very big challenge because as you stand, you can say I will vote ANC out, but I will show you something. Which other party are you going to put as an alternative? Because maybe the party that was now growing, the EFF that was growing, contesting against ANC, right now there's a little bit division in it because some people are saying EFF is against it to Tula, so we're going to drop EFF. You see, there's a lot of things going even on the social media. You understand what I'm saying? So I remember during the local government elections, one guy came on the radio and said, when they were talking, which party are you going to vote for? He said, me, I'm not gonna vote ANC out. They asked him why. He said, my whole family is working for ANC. So if I vote them out, they will not get a salary. So you see that there are a lot of factors that will make people, no matter how people are frustrated and tired, they will be divided into different parties to the extent that at the end, maybe ANC will win with a small majority and overcome all the other parties. So it will continue to stay in power. So if it continues to stay for the next term, right, which means what people are complaining about now, blaming ANC, they'll still complain for the next term. Okay, let me close that chapter. Okay, South Africans, they are graduating on colleges, TVET colleges, universities every year. Matriculants are finishing matric every year. All these people are looking for jobs. The majority of them, especially from matric, the majority are looking for jobs. But we have got people from the universities and colleges looking for jobs. And the unemployment rate is ever escalating, it's not going down. And the problem is no one is coming up with a solution of producing jobs. The government has said it on the media everywhere. They said, the president said the government will not be able to produce jobs for the people. He said it live. So now the people are still looking for jobs. And now the private sector, they are breaking the law left, right, and center in terms of hiring labor and stuff like that. You see, what he's talking about, Stepo, is right. I was making some rounds this morning. Many places that I saw, they were guarded by security guards that don't have SIRA. But according to law, security guards must have SIRA. So you understand that there are a lot of factors that are contributing to the collapse of the country, but no one is addressing the solution to bring the solution on the table. But here is the solution according to my thinking, because Mr. Lloyd said, if you go to the bank wants to give people money. That's what they say. But if you go to the bank, to the counter there, you tell them, we are a company, an entrepreneurial company, we are startup companies, we need some funding. We have got a brilliant idea, ABC. How much do you need? 100,000. We need to see a bank statement with a turnover of 35,000 for the past 3 months. Each month, 35,000. Then we can give you that 100,000. Where will you get that turnover for the past 3 months? So even if you apply with, there are too many fundings, or you apply online in South Africa, but people are not getting that money. And these people that are open, like the Pakistanis and the Bangladesh, those people, they are running spaza shops and businesses, they're selling everything. These general dealer shops, they are all over. You want a Prima stove, you find it. You want this, you find it. You want a Kingly, you find it. You find everything in their shops. Ask yourself, how are those shops managing to run and survive for such long, even though when the economy is unstable? Because those people, they came together and they put funds, even when they are going to buy those stocks, they stock in bulk, then they distribute among themselves. So how are South Africans going to address the issue of unemployment? That's why when I say Africa unite, most people, they don't understand me. I'm trying to use wisdom. I'm trying to use a clever way of trying to show South Africans. Now we will say South Africans, now we'll say this. At the end of the day, it doesn't serve the purpose that I wanted it to serve. Okay, I want Africans to unite. When I say Africans, I'm also talking about South Africans. South Africans are suffering in South Africa. That's the truth. They are suffering. There is no employment. People are suffering. But how are they going to solve that? The government said they are waiting for investors from overseas to come and invest. They can't come and invest. There is too much instability, crime, and all these things happening. Actually, Masmat was threatening to retrench people to go and march in Sandton because a privately owned company wanted to retrench. Right. Imagine, people are protesting to say, you are a private company, you must not retrench, you must keep us in the job. But they don't have a brain of saying, okay, let's join hands and start our own. You see? So what I'm trying to put in the minds of my fellow brothers of South Africa, I'm saying, unite. Not only to unite to march, but unite, put your funds together, start businesses together, grow. And then you will see in a short while the issue of unemployment and all those things. But at the same time, you will be holding the government accountable here and there. All the regulatory boards, if they are not keeping to their regulations and their inspectorate procedures, then you can hold them accountable. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So, guys, people who are in the stream now, we're going to be closing up. So, just to make your contribution a little bit. Wait, Flo, let me just highlight something. Now that we are closing, just make it short, and also let's look mainly at the solutions, because I think we have had all the problems that are there. Okay, so I'm going to open for you right now.
Thank you.
Sorry, can I finish? Something came to my mind. Sorry, 1 minute. Sorry, can I just say this? I wanted to show you this simple thing. There are 60 million estimated South Africans in South Africa. If all those people outside politics, outside religion can come together, put 100 rand on the table, 6 billion will be raised specifically to start businesses. If they do that every month, I'm telling you, as shareholders of those businesses, they will establish massive businesses and then they will make things to work. Employment will be created. You know, I was so hurt when I saw one lady on the social media. She's from KZN. She's a holder of a degree, university degree. She's proudly on OnlyFans. They're saying, I'm almost on $80,000. I'm making a lot of money through my OnlyFans. How can you be so proud you are a degree holder? Because there is no employment. But what are we teaching the young kids that are at school? Must they now put their focus also on that because it has got more money than the degree that they are trying to pursue? I think I'll close there.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ziggy. I just need to mention something, right, which I found a little bit funnier, but very sad at the very same time. I think everyone knows that at the current moment in South Africa, everyone is going through the census, population count, right? Right. So I had a lady, one of those employees from Statistic SA, come over. And in the midst of our interview, I asked her, how are they coping in as far as certain areas where I know they're predominantly foreigners?
Yes.
And she mentioned something. She said, you know what? Specifically Sunnyside in Pretoria, they are unable to count.
Wow.
Because foreigners there are not willing to even open doors for them, just because I think there is also a fear of,
fear.
I don't have the documentation. What if the interview goes that side where I'm being questioned about the legality and things like that? But anyway, just wanted to mention that. But solution. This is what I remember a few years ago. There is a way of actually limiting movement in the country without really doing much. If the South African government was to enforce certain laws, as far as I understand, there was a law that says that when a foreigner is receiving services in a public institution, for an example, health services, where after a certain service has been rendered, a copy of an invoice will be sent to the embassy for the embassy to pay. I know, as a matter of fact, politicians are sitting on this. I have heard about it within the legal fraternity a few years ago. The other aspect is this. I've always wondered, why is it that when one enters this country, there is nothing similar to what I know when one goes outside of the country? One will be asked for medical, scheme details, things like that. The other country will never actually cater for your services. The other aspect is this. Movement tax. Why are we not thinking about movement tax? People working in should be allowed, but with limitation. This will actually, you will not even be enforcing it. The Zimbabwean government will be calling their people to say, guys, we are paying for you. What are you doing in South Africa? But however, we have leaders that are unable to implement these things. I know, as a matter of fact, about this particular one, where even the former Minister of Health of recent weeks was mentioning it, but however, the media went and said it's xenophobia. No, it is not xenophobia for a foreigner to pay for a bed that they have used in a public hospital. It is sent to the embassy, and the embassy pays. The problem is this, guys. Where we have an increase in population, but this is not comparable with the increase in taxes. Forget about the corruption and politicians and, no. The fact of the matter is this. There is no way we can accept an increasing population where revenue is not increasing. So they should actually, politics, yes, you can vote the ANC out. I'm a believer that there should never be a political party that has majority. I'm just a believer in that. So I've never really been one to be happy with ANC getting 60%. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm closing for Bullet. Okay, Bullet has been holding on for a long time.
You can take me out. It's okay.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. I'm going to ask who else has been there for the talking suffer. Please give us your closing remarks.
Thank you so much. In closing, I was going to say there should be proper track and trace systems, that is for both governments, for the host government and the country or the native country. So they should be able to say, oh, so and so many people of our people are coming into your country. These are their documentation, and their embassies need to be responsible for a census of their citizens in the host country. And therefore there should be also immigration reporting, so multiple immigration reporting, so that you can be able to know in what region are your people at, and also if there are any movements in between the provinces. The provinces will have systems that link these the foreigners to with themselves. So each and every province that they move, then they are able to report to an immigration service that is in that vicinity, so that they can be notified that they are currently residing there, and also what are they doing, how long they will be staying, and so on. And also I agree with Chloe's sentiments about foreigners paying for services. So for example, it doesn't have to be exuberant amounts, because we know that we are not rich. we come from very, very poor backgrounds. So I don't think that it is in agreement with her. I don't think that it is xenophobic for a foreigner to pay to, or the embassy rather, to pay for the public services that they use, right? And also go back and let's look at our governments, let's look at our systems, let's look at our policies and see how they can benefit their citizens first. I don't see a problem with the sentiment of putting South Africans first, especially in South Africa, because I will agree 100% with Zimbabweans that express the same sentiment in their country, and so on and so forth. So I don't think that is a wrong statement, or that is a xenophobic statement. And let's try and respect the laws of the host countries, because they are sovereign states. They have their laws, they have their way of doing things. And if you are going to go and stay in your in the host country, respect their laws and have a positive contribution to the host country, so that you give your country a good name. So it also speaks to the moral aspect of this whole entire conversation, because if you are able to come into a host country and disrespect the laws, it speaks a lot about the moral compass. And that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. But before we go anyway, I wanted to ask you, like, what weight do you have to Zimbabweans who are listening right now, documented, undocumented?
I would say that understand, we empathize, we know the struggles that you are facing, we know what is going on. However, also understand the grievances that are coming from the people of South Africa. And we love you, and we want to be, we love you, and we are a part of you, just like you are a part of us. But do understand that it cannot be on our backs that all of Africa's problems are sorted, because it is a burden. It's like that one child, that firstborn child, that has to carry the whole family, and they don't get to see their own success because they are drowned in taking care of the rest of the family. It's not fair on you. It's not fair on us.
Okay, thank you so much, the talking sufferer. Now I'm going to Ko, who has been in the stream for a long time here. Patrick, please, just some few words before we close.
Okay, thank you, Ziki. I want to thank everyone who had just spoken here. All the points that they have raised. Those points that they're very much important, and I hope they'll bring the solution, to this issue that we are dealing with. And I want to share this a quick. I just want to say this to my fellow Africans. Whatever these things that is happening to them, these inappropriate things, I want them to understand that, this is not happening, out of hate. We do not hate them. We love them as our fellow Africans. We love them so much, and yes, we do feel sorry for what is happening to their country, and we do hope that the solution will come up, and we do wish to help them if we could. But yeah. I also hope that they understand the situation that we were dealing with here in our country. Because yes, I do know that they are aware, because most of them do live with us in the township, in these so-called areas. But one thing that I need them to understand is that we do not hate them. No, we do not hate them. We love them as our fellow Africans. So if they could, cooperate with us, because we are trying to bring the best, out of our country. We are trying to do best for our country, but yeah, at this current time, it's really difficult, to try to, sort some other things, try to, deal with such issues that we are facing here, while they are also the issue too, So I do wish that, they understand why this thing is happening, and I do wish that they cooperate with us, and I do also hope that our government also cooperate with us, to try and to try and sort this situation, because we don't want to see our fellow Africans dying like this. We do this sad, but I don't know what could be the solution. I think the solution could be if we could cooperate and try to do best for this country, so that they could also get the best out of this country, without any interference or without any sort of things that could end up getting them harm, so on. So yes, I do pray that this issue could be resolved in the right manner, in the right way, without blood being spilled, without anyone losing their life, Yeah. So yeah, that's my point. Yeah. But the last point, Africans, we love you so much. We love you so much.
Thank you so much. Okay, thank you so much for your contribution. Now, is there a Zimbabwean in the stream right now? Do we have any Zimbabwean in the stream? No. Okay, wait.
Yes, I'm a Zimbabwean.
Okay, we have a Zimbabwean.
Yes.
I want to ask you a question. Zimbabweans have been accused of not being grateful to South Africa, okay, and also for being very disrespectful on social media about the things they say about Zimbabwe, okay. Now I'm bringing
About
it to
South
you.
Africa.
Yes.
Okay, let me tell you. I hear that many people always say there are few Zimbabweans in South Africa, but I will tell you the truth. In South Africa, there are many Zimbabweans. There are so many. It's just that the number is not counted, and the stats is not the right figures. But in South Africa, there are many Zimbabweans. So those few Zimbabweans that go on social media and they speak bad things and they speak insulting words to South Africans, those are few individuals. So if you take what you see on the social media and then you use it as a blanket approach to everyone, then you will go around saying Zimbabweans, they are not grateful. You see, but the reality is we appreciate what South Africa has done to us when Zimbabwe had no jobs, when things were tough. We survived in this country. We survived, and we still survive even now. It's better than if we were in Zimbabwe. So it's like people are committing crime in South Africa, and they are caught and they are found to be Zimbabwe nationals. Then people say Zimbabweans are committing crime in no, there are few individuals who are just like there are South Africans as well who are committing crime. There are Nigerians as well who are committing crime. But if you catch 4, 5, 10 Zimbabweans, then you say Zimbabweans are destroying South Africa. They are committing crime. Yet it's just those 10, 20 people that you caught out of maybe hundreds and hundreds of thousands. So I want to say we must not use a blanket approach, because a blanket approach will paint everyone with a black paint and then or a bad brush. Then people will be taken as bad people. That's why people now are saying it's xenophobia, because people are saying Zimbabweans are, Lesotho nationals are. But it's not everyone who are like that. We've got good people who are South Africans, good people who are Zimbabweans, good people who are other nationals. So I want all Africans, let us all understand that the crime is crime. It doesn't. I've realized something, Ziki. You know what is happening? There are white people who left Zimbabwe, who left other countries. Some of them, they came here illegally. The crimes that we are talking about, the drugs and the fraudulent documents and all these things, they are also doing them. But you will never hear them being spoken, maybe because no white person has been arrested yet under those lines. You understand my point? So it's not about race, it's not about nationality. It's about, if crime is crime, let us all hold hands and fight crime together and put it to an end. That's what I'm trying to say when I say Africa is unite. Because we stay in these communities. When we talk about the criminals, when we say drug dealers, these drug dealers, where do they stay? In the communities where people are staying. Some are your brothers, some are your uncles. You know them. You understand? They are your neighbors. They are neighbors. They are your friends. You know my friend is a drug dealer. But you cannot catch that friend and take him to the police station. Why? Because even if you take him to the police station, the police, they will tell him that it's your friend who brought you here. Then he pays money, he's out. Then at the end of the day, we are not united to fight crime. That's why I say, Africa, to bring a solution, let's unite. Whether it's to create employment, let's unite. No one will come and solve problems for us. It's unfortunate that how I wish people, I could tell them my plans, what I'm planning, how to resolve the problems that people are facing. It's just that I'm too young and not popular. I'm not a celebrity. No one will listen to me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm not going to ask you more questions that I wanted to ask, but for that, okay, thank you so much. Okay. Anyway, we are going to close, guys. I'm going to call upon is it M.I.? I'm failing to pronounce the name. But I'm going to open your mic is already open. Please go ahead. We are closing now. Only a minute. No. Flo, close, please.
Hi. Thank you. I expected somebody else to talk, but thank you. Guys, I think, we are Africans. South Africa is at the bottom of this continent. And I mean, the irony of it is that being at the bottom, it just feels, it's heavy. It is heavy. And I think others could assist us. The issue, at the core of it is this.
Hello?
I'm in a gated estate. Sorry? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. Somebody was talking.
I heard them.
The issue is this. At the core of this whole thing is that I will not be happy if one of my siblings or my parents was to die in the hands of somebody whom the South African Police Service does not have fingerprints for. It's as simple as that. There is some kind of relief in knowing that the people you are interacting with, right, are known. We have their records. That's just the simplicity of it all. How do you live with somebody who, you know, I was reading an article. A Zimbabwean guy was sentenced in recently because he, and by the way, I'm not trying to make a mockery of what the issue is here, but I'm just gonna summarize it. The person was working for as a gardener in a hotel, right? So he met at the owner, and because he had a home being Zimbabwe, he could simply leave South Africa, right? I don't know what happened, but the family, being a white family, the daughter managed to trace him and tricked him into coming back to South Africa for him to be arrested. The South African police could not even manage to find this person. It was through the involvement of the family. So it's not for me as a South African. It is also for anyone who is in South Africa that we need to have people on the South African Home Affairs system. That's just the simplicity of it. As for, you know, for your security, for my security, and at the end of the day, there is no way I as a South African could look at the falling infrastructure. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, we have load shedding, people. There is a need for money. There is a need for money. I'm not going to be carrying the entire essay here. If you are in this country, do it legally. Get your documents. No one will bother you. No one will bother you. I can assure you, many South Africans actually enjoy having an interaction with others. We do. Midrand, it will be empty without foreigners, right? Those foreigners in Midrand, they are paying rent. It will be empty. But do it lawfully. Just do it lawfully. No one will kill you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Who else? Okay. I'm closing. Yeah, I'm removing people from the stream. Okay, if I remove you, thank you so much for joining us today. Okay, I'm closing. I just don't want to shut people out when they still have some things to say. Ngobize, please just say a few words and I'm closing. Just a minute.
Yeah, no, let's just close. Let's just close. I have one word to say. Me, I love you all. I love you all nations of Africa. I love you all.
Okay, thank you. Bye bye. Okay, Josie Gold. Just few words, just a minute.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, look, I just wanted to say this. Look, South Africa right now is having its own challenges. And unfortunately, we can't really help anybody. We don't hate other people. It's just that this is just too overwhelming for us. Like, we don't have the resources to deal with a lot of the things that are happening right now. So right now, we just have to look out for ourselves in our own country. And if we can help, yeah, we will help. But right now, we just need to put ourselves in our country first. But we do have a lot of love for everybody else on the whole continent. We just can't help everyone. Thank you.
Thank
And it's great.
you.
Thanks for having me, Ziki.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for having me.
Josie. Sepo.
Yes, closing comments. It's simple. Please respect the laws of other countries. That's all I have to say. If this country tells you, brah, you cannot be here, don't cross the border illegally, especially if you're going to come here and use our services and not put anything back into the system through tax. That's all I have to say. That kind of model is unsustainable. We cannot have people who come here to sell fruits and not pay tax, but they still use our healthcare services and education. It's not sustainable. We are working at a deficit. This is deficit spending at the most extreme level. So listen, I'm not going to say I love Africans or what. I'm not. I'm interested in my survival. That's all I have to say. I'm only
You're interested.
That's it. I'm interested in South Africa. Once we fix South Africa, then focus on Zimbabwe and Botswana and Eswatini and Lesotho and so forth. But until I fix my own house and make sure that I have a surplus of jobs, I have a surplus of money, I have a surplus of space and accommodation for other people to come and make the country better and grow the economy, I cannot help you. I second what Mr. Josie Gold just said, that we are not retaliating against mass immigration for fun. We are retaliating because it's a matter of survival. So please respect South African laws. Please, that's all I need to say. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much, Sebo. Let me remove you from the stream. So thank you so much, everyone who joined us today. Like today, we're just trying to find some of the possible and practical solutions to the problems that we are facing right now. I should say, you know, a lot of things were said, among which some people were talking about, you know, the most important thing, we need to fight corruption in our societies. Okay. Some people were talking about, you know, in regards to Zimbabweans, so saying you need to teach the Zimbabwean people the importance of voting, okay, and voting correctly, all right? And also, we have some people saying, well, the issue of open borders is a no, no, no. That was also raised. And we also having people talking about, okay, still goes back to political situations, you know, people talking about voting. And let me see, they say the issue of immigrants is still going to be a problem over and over again if these issues that have been mentioned here are not resolved. It means there will still be more problems and people will still be coming back into South Africa. And then our first speaker spoke about the push factor, the push and pull factor, okay, saying what is driving people away, okay, and what is driving people in, okay. They also spoke about that. And then we saw also the issue of apartheid, okay, being spoken about. So there are so many issues that have been spoken, okay. So I'm going to compile these guys so that you will see all everything that has been contributed, okay. I'll just put it in a file and forward it somewhere, and then I'm going to share the link with you, my friends. So this is all we had today. So thank you so much. I hope tomorrow you all have the wonderful holiday. It's already 1 May, okay. Okay, so I hope you're all going to be having a wonderful holiday tomorrow. And here where I am, there's some bit of COVID cases here, so we are partly in lockdown. Okay, we are partly on lockdown. Work closed early for everybody because of the cases that are rising in China right now. There are some COVID cases, so things are not really okay. All right, so we are all in the houses. We are required to get tested 3 times. And you know, as from during the holiday that is coming, is going to be a little bit long holiday. We are, if you are not tested, if you don't have a 48-hour COVID test, you cannot board the bus, okay, public transport. Actually, you cannot use public transport, you cannot get into restaurants, you can, you know, a lot of things, okay. But all I'm saying is wherever you are, please take care of yourselves, be safe, and I will I will talk to you again some other time. Tsepo, you're still in there. Goodbye, Tsepo, and goodbye, Patrick. And let me just come here and say shout out to my friends. Mim Sheikh, okay, we have got Zama, Oli Gold, AJ, CD, okay, Dombifuti, okay, Lungelo, Mbegi Tembe, you have Kind, Kind Muzansi. Okay, Momokere, okay, Veli, okay, hello, hello, everybody that I'm highlighting there, I'm just saying hello to you, okay? Hello, Beggy, walk with all, thank you, hello, hello. Let me see, let me check, okay, ta. Okay, let me just say hello to this one, okay? Let's see, let's see, Mama Africa, Bangani, MJ. Okay, well, the ticket. What did he write here? Say the man is thinking small. What bank is interested in you coming in to borrow 10,000 rands for your business? That's a joke. It is big money here. How do you think Anel and others did it? Okay. And then we see we have Noreen. Sikuthi Banana Republic. Okay, we have. And then let me see something that I missed there. A lot of things were going on. A lot of things were going on. Okay, all right, this one I missed. Okay, I think I need my to quench the thirst, guys. It's been a very mouthful. 3 hours. I just want to give a toast to my friends there. And what Pan-Africanism only applies to South Africa. Other African countries, you have strict border controls. I've been abused more in African borders than in Europe. You okay? Okay, let me see another comment here. Okay, this one says, no, Malema is a danger to our economy and sustainability. We cannot risk another African country going down. Okay. Let's see another comment. I'm just waiting for you, my friends, to leave the stream, okay, so that I don't shut you off. Otherwise, we have finished the streaming for today. I cannot just, close like that. In seasons, the base of what further the self-proclaimed leadership until okay. 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 Good night. Good night, everybody. Good night, everybody. Okay, sorry. Okay, this one was saying government doesn't make money in most of these